I should probably tell people that we're streaming.
Good old Wayne.
Grip it and rip it!
That'll be a treat for people who catch the VOD. I heard nothing.
Oh, fucking hell.
Silence.
Well, it happened. Stream could probably hear it, probably.
Oh no. I don't know if it happened.
It did, though. Okay. That is the wrong link. I need to link it to the stream and not to the Does the Dog Die page. But it's fine. We're here. We're ready. Sean seems fine. Our sister, not so much. Sister Mary,
She's
doing
not
great.
Fine.
She's definitely not fine. What else has happened? We haven't talked to Dr. Boyfriend in a minute. Oh, right, we have to go to Lady Ashbury's mansion, don't we?
Gross.
Horrible woman. As per usual, though, I'm very excited to play this silly little video game. I kind of really like it. Oh, this man is dying. I cannot help him.
That's funny.
You love to see it. Our sweet gay baby Oswald is still not doing great.
His head hurts.
I can't help her either, because her head hurts. And apparently we can't hear head hurt.
No.
Is neuralgia, whatever the one man, what he has, is that like a third level? Are there 4 levels? That's gross. I thought there were only the 3. Okay. Are you looking it up?
Yeah.
Wonder if they did that just for the symmetry, but I don't like it. We ate some people.
It's kind of another type of headache.
Oh, cool, great. Alright, cool. Awesome.
It's pain in a nerve pathway, actually. It's just that all the diagrams like come up show head.
So headache. That's what the diagrams have said. I trust diagrams. We have new dialogue options with Dr. Boyfriend. Should we go say hi to Dr. Boyfriend before we go say hi to Stupid Lady?
I kind of want to go say hi to Dr. Boyfriend and not Stupid Lady.
Let's go say hi to Dr. Boyfriend. We do have some side quests as well. Hi, Stars. How are you doing, friend? How doing? You know, instead of what doing. We have other quests there to do as well. Let's go say hi to Dr. Boyfriend. I should probably mark him on my map so I don't get lost. Howdy do! We do pretty alright.
Pretty okay. I had
pretty
fun
okay.
with him.
So good.
It was so good. Jaya watching yesterday were talking about how, like, it means so much to him when Kim is pleased.
Right? Listen.
Because of what he did. Like, more than real life people.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. The amount of joy and fulfillment that I personally get when I make Kim Kitsuragi very happy, or even just content, pleased with my actions. I don't think I've ever had that much
when you
joy.
Say something, you're just like quietly nods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm good at the thing.
Kim approves. His approval means more to me than anything else, honestly. So I understand. I understand where this man is coming from.
Kimball Kitsuragi, the only good cop, and my personal best friend.
Yeah!
Those pixels that make up that bomber jacket.
What are you doing, Dr. Boyfriend? It's out the window, buddy.
Jonathan, old chap, how are you tonight? I've seen little of you of late.
I was
We just talked to you last week.
in my room, away from the nightly routines.
Of course.
He missed us,
Worry
basically,
not,
is
I
what
understand.
happened.
The situation has been testy around here.
Also,
I won't deny
sorry,
it.
I'm talking
But we
about
still stand.
Disco
No.
Elysium.
Keep
There is a
talking about
good
Disco
bit
Elysium.
when you talk to the body. Did you get that when you played? You pass like a Inland Empire check and you can talk to the cops.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. You can ask the cops like, how are we talking exactly?
Yeah.
And you don't really like. He says it's the power of your imagination, but then my Thai chimed in and gave me the the whole explanation. So that was nice. About I just
I like it.
different non-living objects just to give me the scoop and now I know exactly what's going on.
Sometimes you just gotta talk to dead and or inanimate things, and
Yeah.
don't question it. Just roll
One
with
of my-
it.
One of my quests is just to never take off the horrible necktie now.
He is your other best friend. You've got Kim, who's full of the good ideas, and then you've got Horrible Necktie, who is the bad ideas friend.
He's
And
trying
you-
his best.
Yeah, no, definitely, but don't.
He just wants us to have fun.
You need both
He's got a real
for a
tough
good life.
job. Harry is not well.
No, Harry is a bad man in that he is bad at being a man, as in like a human. He's failing on all levels to be a functional human.
He's going through an apocalyptic breakup, which he can only like relate to because he has no memory through like religious imagery.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a-
buddy.
It's a messy one.
Our poor guy.
What news
Oh,
do you bring?
jeez.
The news is not good.
Hi,
my friend.
Farley.
We try to keep the epidemic at bay, but street violence is escalating quickly.
That's because of
How
the
bad is
scowls.
the epidemic?
It is killing
Yeah.
the infected patients faster. In less than 2 days now.
Oh, yikes.
The only blessing is that they are contagious for a shorter period.
So
Tell me
most
more
people
about the
don't become
violence.
skulls,
Jeffrey
right? They just
McCallum
die.
seems to have sent his war
Yeah, I
dogs on
think
a
so.
hunt. On a nightly
I think so.
basis, Pre-Wen
So-
patrols exterminate every skull and vampire they
I think
find.
at this
Have they
point we
come
can
closer
safely
to the
say
hospital?
any person
No.
that's been turned
They
into
mainly
a
focus on
scowl
fallen districts
now
or abandoned
had the
buildings.
Spanish flu, but
they
not
grow in
everyone who
numbers.
has the Spanish
must be
flu
recruiting
becomes a
heavily.
scowl.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just die.
Sometimes
Have
you
any
just
reliable
fucking
friends in the West
die.
End who might assist me?
Unfortunately, you will be alone. Except for our ravishing red-headed acquaintance, of
She's
course.
fine.
What about
Edgar,
the Brotherhood of
please.
St. Paul Stole? Where are they?
There are only a few of us, and most others would not speak to you. I am the black sheep of our brotherly flock, you know.
My boy.
What of my commission here at Pembroke Hospital?
Nothing to fear, Jonathan. Your position here is in no jeopardy. You remain one of us, and you are always most welcome.
Aww.
I have received an alarming letter from
Thanks,
Lady
Dr.
Ashbury.
Boyfriend.
She
Love
wants me
Dr.
to meet
Boyfriend
her at
here.
her house. I have been granted safe passage.
Then you are twice fortunate. I have never been invited to the lady's mansion.
It's probably
With
for the best.
quarantine and
Yeah.
controls, city access is
They're
now
like when he
impossible.
invites Stu to the house.
They're just admiring his hair. Dr. Boyfriend uses Dr. Hair Gel. Listen,
It's
just
just fine when they invite Stu to the house. It's when they invite him to the party it went wrong.
yeah.
Sorry.
Is the quarantine
Because they're very
It is
shiny,
helping slow
very
the
straight
propagation
hair.
of the epidemic. As long as we have no clue to its origin, its
How did he do
efficiency
that?
is limited.
Why
Dr.
have you
Boyfriend,
never
how
entered the
do?
lady's house? You are one of her good friends, are you not?
My dear Jonathan, you have no
Don't.
idea how
With
reclusive
She doesn't
a
have
lady
this
normally
technology.
is, nor in what great esteem she must
With
hold you to let you into
1910s
her
technology,
domain.
he has perfect hair. How did
Right?
you-
I need to know what vampire magic is at work here.
Thank you, Ed.
There's no other
We shall
explanations.
speak again later.
Stairs thinks he could have used Dr. Hair Gel.
A special kind of hair gel.
He is just Dr. Hair Gel.
Dr. Boyfriend hair gel. Dr. Hair gel boyfriend? Dr. Hair gel boyfriend. Medical grade hair gel. It's actually he's just put super glue in his hair. Oh no! Edgar, please! You can't do that! It's not good for you! Let's get rid of that. We could! Here's the thing. Could just not go see this lady, right? And, do a couple of side quests.
Yeah, we could do.
Anything to not talk to this woman. Come up with the grave diggers. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means.
We could
Need to
try
find-
that. It's, we were gonna do it when we found a flower, but there are no flowers in the world. There are none in the universe.
Yeah. Both of those are in, like, the same region, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. Yeah,
Just
let's
I remembered because the grave diggers are literally the exact opposite end of the map from the graves.
do... Yeah! I remember. It was stupid. I wonder if it's, like, a gang or something.
Yeah.
Which
Even
still
still.
doesn't make sense. Yeah. But, oh, those men just kind of popped into existence?
Digging a grave on the dock and they just fall through into the water.
Nope. Maybe I just let them kind of handle this. Can you stop?
Dog helping.
I got a little scared because these guys were level 23, but I think it's fine, actually. But I will just let Dog handle that. Probably. I helped! I helped, Dog! Hey!
You're a real one, Dog.
Dog, are we friends?
Friend, Dog.
No. No. we're not friends. I hoped.
Yeah.
Come on,
Why
Dog.
we're doing that?
He was just... I think he got stuck on something?
No, it could have been it. I thought we were doing a big move.
Maybe.
I think we've seen all the moves, and none of them involve, like, running in place.
I
For a worrying period of time, so...
hear someone. Oh.
Vampire. Vampyr.
Yeah. Just a scowl ruining someone's day over there.
Nullified's over there, watch out for him.
I do need to go this way.
They're all in the way.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the bastard's got nullified.
It's fine. I was a little worried that I was gonna, like, forget how to combat, like, at all. I
You
haven't.
just hit him with the big stick, it's fine.
Yeah. It's fine. It's actually really easy as this game. I don't know why Past Me was tripping out so hard.
Like, you couldn't do any of the special moves because they're on ridiculous buttons. But then you didn't know about big stick. We had a small stick, and it's just markedly worse.
Yeah. Ugh. Can you not? This is fine.
We have to stop it!
We are giving up the ability to use an offhand weapon by using the big stick, but
But the big stick gives us the offhand weapon
Yeah.
things
This is
anyway.
a bonus from the offhand weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the default one was just did stun damage. But
It didn't-
the big stick does stun damage and regular damage at the same time. You could be holding a gun, but like every time you used one, you kind of got stuck in the animation and couldn't like.
Yeah, and reloading with
Look
them
at them pop
was
you. The damage is
horrible.
fine.
Ow. Guns would be fine if I didn't have big stick, but I have big stick.
Yeah, and we would still be missing out on doing stamina damage if we didn't have the big stick. Unless we were swapping back and forth between a stick
Gross.
and a gun, but that's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah. Well,
Get the best of all worlds by just holding a big stick.
have you considered, instead of funny many weapon, just get a big stick?
Just get a big stick. Just get a big stick.
Just my advice for
life.
me to you. Just get a big stick.
Do you want a stick?
Thought I had picked that up. Hi. I thought that body was shining. Oh, hey,
Oh,
huh? Hey, huh?
From downtown.
My God. Listen, I can't fight every skull I come across. Oh God. I could. I don't want to.
Yeah, totally fine. We might have
Yeah.
to at some point if they won't behave.
Oh, oh.
Probably shouldn't be teleporting over after you, because it's not going to go well for him.
Right.
Go across the hole.
Idiot. Yeah, I thought that maybe I could get across that way, but no, I think we have to go through the bridge. This is a bridge crossing type situation. Also, where are we? The docks. This is Sean's place.
What if we don't want to walk all the way across the bridge? Is there an abridged version?
Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! I see what you did there. Get it? Because abridged means shortened, but we're also on a bridge, and they sound the same. And it's just very funny what Fruity did there.
Remember in Kingdom of Loathing, which is the one that, you know, West of Loathing and Shadows of Loathing came from?
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a puzzle where you got an abridged dictionary and you had to take it to a wizard who could untinker items that you'd combined, and he could untinker the abridged dictionary into a bridge and a dictionary.
Wild. I can see why you had to take it to a wizard then.
Yeah.
Not just anyone can conjure a bridge from an abridged dictionary.
Normally, like, you use meat to, like, stick, like, two pieces of cabbage together, and then you have to take it to the wizard to unstick them.
Oh.
But that one was pretty impressive. That does drain your blood, it's horrible. I remember to look this time.
Hey, 'cause I didn't. I'm out of stamina.
There's one of them vermin.
Hi, it's me. I am Vermin.
The crossbow guy is probably the least, like, bad dude the priest can come with.
Yeah,
Takes
oh,
them
definitely.
a long time to fire. The little quick ones are really annoying when there's the priest there.
Yeah. Like, where? Okay, I am where I need to be. I got turned around for a second. The little dudes with the swords and the guns are the most obnoxious.
This is no place for you.
Hi.
Joe, folk.
These guys are a close second.
They're always a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
Just problematic dice. are now. Let us just power through these big stick hits.
No one can power through Big Stick. Listen, it's the biggest stick you've ever seen.
Never seen a stick that big.
We made our stick so big. Big stick. Love Big Stick.
Big.
Straight Hawk.
You get sandwiches there.
I don't think I want these sandwiches. Got repeating textures very, very close to each other. I see what you've done there. Good advice. Listen, I think everybody should carry a big stick with them.
Find handle pads and attach them to the big stick. You'll have an even bigger stick. That's the second step.
Biggest stick.
The secret move. He didn't want people to know, because then they'd have a bigger stick than him.
Okay, that can't go there. I would be scared if I came across, if I was a person who had a big stick. Not to say I'm not, but if I came across somebody with a bigger stick than me, I would be a little
Could
shook.
happen. That could be the last boss.
This
My
place.
God.
Rain may have washed away the blood, but
Big
not the memory.
Stickman.
My poor Mary.
Oh!
Oh.
I know where we are. Hello, boys. About your last message concerning your mission to loot corpses in Southwark. Only say it once, deal with it. Okay. That's from Booth Digby. I was gonna
my
say
watch.
Darby, but
Damn grave robbers.
hey,
Oh.
it's our watch. Oh, okay, we've done it. We've done the thing.
Oh.
We just had to find Digby's letter, I guess.
Guess there were graves over here, actually. One big grave.
One giant grave?
Just the one grave, actually.
Aren't a lot of corpses around here. Specifically for lootin'. Got them lootin' corpses. Okay. Can I can't go through here. Unfortunate. But where is what's his faces? There. No. I wanted to track that. So we can either tell Edwina about them dying or not. And then we need to find flowers.
There's no flowers. There's no flowers in the world.
They don't exist. They're not real.
Human!
Hello.
We have one flower and we neglect it daily, and then there'll be no
Yeah.
flowers. We just can't work out how to put water in the flower.
I'm very concerned about that flower. Like, I just want to know how to make it better. My God, that man was hootin'. Just put water on the flower.
Please, at least leave it outside so rain might get to it.
Right?
The one thing you're doing is just the absolute most wrong thing. A baked bean letter.
What?
This place looks like the picture I saw of the bomb site.
Are we shoving baked beans in our letters now? It's just an envelope full of baked beans?
Just drippy, horrible letter.
Oh, wait, it's Digby's letter? Did you hear Digby and think baked beans? It's the only thing I can think of. which is incorrect.
Dig
Baked beans. Big beans. Oh!
Oh! Wait, the bouquet just 2 feet away from the...
May all who suffered from this
Well, we
tragedy
did it.
find
We
all
did
rest
it.
in peace.
Jumps the gun.
Why? That's so small! It's fine,
Also, it
we
looks
did it!
exactly like, you know when there's just like random shrubbery growing through the
Yeah,
pavement and
the
it
other
just catches
flowers
the
that
light
we've
wrong
seen
and
and we can't-
shines
Yeah!
from certain angles.
I think we've seen flowers like that in, like, Whitechapel. And we couldn't pick them up, and so...
Awful.
Hey. It's fine, we did it. We've done everything over here. We can leave now. We can tell Dyson that we've done the thing for the bombing place, and then we can tell Edwina about her dead dudes. Don't sniff those flowers. I'm sure that they're fine, but those are remembrance flowers.
What happens if you sniff remembrance flowers?
You forget.
Oh no!
Just everything in your brain just comes out and you don't remember
That-
nothing.
I know of this rule.
Just don't do it. It's a bad time. You'll forget everything. You probably forgot about it because you sniffed some flowers. You fool. What have you done? Oh hey, we're already where we need to be. Dyson! Hey! Also, we have so many points, and I think it's because we ate Badman?
Good evening.
The
Miss
murderer
Hello
man?
again, Dr. Reed.
Oh yeah,
What
yeah
do
we
you
did.
want?
I remember eating that, man.
I
We
managed
ate
to reach
Badman,
the mass
and it was
grave in
great.
Southwark.
And everyone was
It
really
was
happy,
Not
actually.
pleasant.
Spare me the details, Dr. Reed. All I want to know is what happened to those bastards who owed me money.
Hey, I think I killed them. As I think about it, I think those were the dudes that we killed?
Someone got him.
Or
Could have been
did we kill
anyone.
them? I
It's a
think
mass
they were
grave.
there when we woke up, and then they got scared away by Sister Mary. Because I vaguely remember some dudes trying to, like, loot our corpse.
That makes sense. And they did have our
I'm
watch.
afraid those bastards,
Yeah.
as you call them, are in
It's true, they
the
dug their
mass
own
grave.
graves.
Dead.
They're actually very near the mass
My
grave.
money would have been useful. Well, I'll tell my boys to avoid the place if it's that dangerous.
Yeah, you
Yes.
should tell them to not go
Everybody
there.
should avoid that place
Yeah.
until further notice.
Like,
Okay then,
one,
Doctor.
there's a plague
It looks
going
like
on.
you deserve a reward
Right.
after all.
Two,
Well,
a lot
boys,
of the
thank you
people who
for your
get
help.
put in the big grave hole just get back up and start eating people.
It's less a grave hole and more a buffet. Don't worry about it.
Tell me your feelings about Booth's belief in monsters, Edwina.
It makes him look weak in front of the boys. That's my feeling about it. But ghosts don't scare me.
You don't
They
believe
should.
he really saw something there?
I don't care what he saw or
They
not.
should.
All I know is that a real man keeps his fears to himself if he wants to be obeyed.
Wow, Edwina kind of sucks.
Yeah, she's
Have you
horrible.
got any news about Sean Hampton's shelter?
As long as he keeps on
Potentially
helping the
Canada.
poor, I'll keep my boys
Yeah.
at bay. Even if he pisses them off.
Looking like a juicier juice box every day.
That's as
You
much
know?
juice as we're ever gonna get out of her. 4,250. That's
Are
a
you
lot
worried
of juice.
about the sanitary?
The body's...
She's got
Can I
a
see
decent
what
amount
you
of
have to
juice in
say?
her.
As long as you have money, I'll show you all I...
Hey, ma'am, I just wanna... Common good. Tiny.
I think the tiny ones are just for guns.
Yeah.
I think. Oh,
Yeah,
just
offhand.
offhand weapons in general. The triggers are for guns specifically.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna buy anything right now, but we know that she's got good.
Might want to get those off her before we do any.
Before we do any, yeah. Good call. We're just a little low on money at the moment is the only thing. I
Yeah.
have enough to buy
evening,
them,
Mr.
but
Delaney.
What?
we
Ah,
went a
you're
little
doctor.
money crazy last time, so we'll
I found the location
put
of
it
the
on hold for
explosion,
now.
Mr. Delaney. I placed a flower for
Mine
you.
a little
where it
crazy,
happened.
but we're doing good on
Just as it
supplies
was.
now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Only thing
kind.
we really
I
need
never
is
thought someone
the
would-
handle pads, because the really heads
Yeah.
come by.
Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
It's nothing, really. And I'm sorry for your loss.
What? No, I didn't know them. No car was supposed to park there that day. Stupid bastard. Why did he park there?
You're the man who hit that
Oh.
bomb.
I don't want to talk about it. Leave me alone.
Oh.
Hmm.
I sense your guilt, Dyson.
Oh.
Why is that? Did you not think violence was an acceptable political tool?
I still believe our fight was just. By killing an innocent couple who were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. No way.
I mean, I don't remember why they were bombing the place, is the thing.
I don't either. What was the bombing thing about? Oh, it's just an impassioned and radical anarchist. Just anarchist things. Sometimes you gotta make a bomb.
Well, then why is he feeling guilty about killing people?
Because people got killed by the bomb. You're supposed to just blow up a bomb because it looks cool. You want
We'll-
people
You
to be
made
there.
a mistake.
We'll admonish him for
a
it
terrible
then.
mistake. Maybe an unforgivable one. But that does not
Oh,
mean
wait, no,
you
Jonathan, that's not...
I
Wait.
swear I did not want to kill anyone.
Jonathan, that's
I did
not the way that
hire
I
you
thought that
shadow
that was
to
gonna
kill on
go.
purpose. That's my only defense.
Yeah, hey...
I want
It's
you
hard
to
to tell
remember
what
the bomb,
Jonathan's gonna
Dyson.
say.
Tell me
Yeah.
about it.
No. I don't want to remember it.
Why use a bomb? What were you trying to destroy?
The Dawson and Dawson ammunitions factory. A symbol of violence against the people. My group wanted to destroy it to send a message.
Okay,
Yes,
here's the
le-
thing. So like, oh, we didn't want to hurt anyone. If you blow up, the thing about an ammunition factory is it tends to have ammunition in.
Right?
That's gonna be a really big explosion and someone's gonna get hurt.
That's like being, I don't like these fireworks, I'm gonna blow up their factory. Like, hey.
Oh no! Someone got hurt when I blew up the fireworks factory.
Yeah! Hey, this is, you gotta, that's gonna go boom, buddy, and bigger boom than you think it's gonna. Of course someone's gonna get hurt, even if it's not just some passerby on the streets, like, if there is someone in that building, even if they're working for it, you're gonna hurt someone, and you need to, like, if that is your plan, not that I condone any of this, obviously, but if you're gonna do that, you're gonna have to come to terms with the fact that someone is gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Hey, you're really bad at this, Dyson.
The victims. They were not the target then.
I spent so much time figuring out the perfect moment. I used a short fuse. No car had ever parked there. They all died.
Did someone
No,
pack the car
Dyson,
on
they
top of the
didn't all
bomb?
die.
and
It sounds
stuff
like
and
it,
blow
yeah.
up the
The boy
factory?
who survived
Yeah.
the explosion.
I never heard of an injured boy.
Not a scratch on him. I suspect he wasn't in the car when it exploded.
In the car.
It'd have blown up
You
out the
mean-
fucking
Yes,
dock if
Dyson.
you did.
God,
You killed his
right?
parents.
Come
Why
on.
tell me this?
Oh.
I don't know. Perhaps one day you will
Yeah.
talk to him and tell him the truth.
Who is that boy? How can I find him?
Is it
That's
Rufus?
Easy. Most of the time, he's in the same place. The place you never want to go back to.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Well, that's cool.
Is it true Sean Hampton saved your life?
Yeah. The sad saint grabbed my soggy ass and brought me back to the pier after I fell into the canal. I was a wreck back then.
Maybe Sean shouldn't have.
Were you thankful for what he did for you?
Sean Hampton really acted like a saint that day. But I suppose I'm just another lost soul who doesn't deserve to be saved.
Sean did leave a note saying, he wrote a note to God saying, "Oh, I kind of wish I hadn't saved that guy who sucks."
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Mr. Dillon.
Woof. Wait, how much blood did the man have in him?
Like 950. He's got no blood.
Yeah, you are only being spared because you are not worth my time. So that's cool. Well, hey, that's all of the quests in the docks currently done.
Nice. It's
Pembroke
not
is
that
also
he
done.
were like doing bombs and blowing stuff up. It's that he was doing it so badly.
Yeah,
Like, come on.
bruh. Yeah, it's not good at what he was doing.
The sewer dog's fault, they say.
The last guy we had killed a bunch of people, but at least he was like doing it competently.
He was committed to the thing. Horrible man. Awful, horrible man. Boy, was he tasty, though.
Yeah. No one cared when he died. Everyone
Yeah.
was fine with that.
Even his mom was like, well, you know, he was pretty trash. I have
Yeah.
a new son now.
Just get a new son. Can't be as bad as the old son.
Right. They're making funny noises. They're going, bleh, bleh. Are they just standing there?
When there's fights like this, oh god. Okay, I was gonna say the scales always get destroyed, but that guy did just get eaten.
Yeah. Sometimes, I feel like sometimes if there are enough scowls, then you don't really stand much of a chance. That guy
if
is,
there's
he's
enough
fucking
that
dead
the
though.
targeting gets confused.
Yeah.
Can't, like pick which one to attack.
Do like watching them just like fight each other though. It's very
It's
good.
really good. The effects look great when it's going on. It's just very cool, and it's always fun to watch AI fight in games. So
Right? Yeah. Fucks. Okay, where am I going? Still doing some more side quests, cause why not?
you can kind of appreciate the like fire effects on the attacks and stuff when they're not happening to you.
Yeah! Oh, Scal is confused. Sir, please. My jacket is tripping out.
Oh yeah, your jacket's
Oh.
gone through your butt again. Okay.
It's fixed. No!
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Why did you do that?
I was trying to pick
No
up the
one
stuff.
wanted this, Jonathan.
Just wanted to pick up the things on the ground. I didn't want to eat the rat. I was full anyway. Ah!
Unbelievable.
So horrible. It's a terrible day.
He's in rat heaven now.
He didn't deserve to die like this. Not the little dessert rat. My sweet little buddy. I hate it when I eat rats.
Can we be really careful around rats to not press the button? The eat
Yeah.
button.
Sometimes I don't notice that they're there though.
Yeah.
And then it's too late.
Just a
It's-
button prompt.
Yeah.
I wonder what treasure I'm about to get. Oh, it's not
Yeah,
treasure. You accidentally
Not
just eat a rat.
treasure. I just ate a rat.
Hate when I accidentally eat rats.
Do you ever just accidentally eat a rat?
Don't even notice them.
Does this
and then
ever
suddenly I'm
happen
just
to
taking a big
you?
old bite.
I'm gonna take out this boy because he's nothing now. Oh,
Ferocious guy. Oh, it's the loud guy.
it's the loud guy. The one that scared me because he was a level 18 and I was just a baby.
Still one level higher than us, but that doesn't.
That means nothing now.
Yeah.
Whoa, what?
Ooh.
Okay. He's as stupid as a stool, but tough.
I'm sure
Great.
Albert would like to know he's been accepted by the Wet Boot Boys.
Oh. Oh, you're a even bigger boy. Not really.
Yes, it's not like scowls are way less threatening than the number says.
Yeah.
Does mean they hit like a truck though, but no, you keep them stunned and you just gotta avoid the grab.
There we go. Sir? Ah! Unacceptable!
I didn't think they'd use strategy and tactics.
Right? How dare they sandwich me in there? Sir, please. I'm dying. Fuck. It's fine.
Fights were really good. It just kept
Yeah.
teleporting out before I could take stamina damage.
Yeah.
It looks like, I didn't know if you know, it's Sunny Row going on. If you hit them while they're like starting to teleport, it does health damage, but not stamina.
Oh. That's stupid and I hate that.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Can't say I'm a fan. We still haven't come across the landlord man.
No, I don't know where Landlord Man is. I want to eat him.
Oh, wait, maybe it's
Oh.
here. I do want to eat the landlord man. It's here.
Gotta
There's
go.
a man in here.
Let's
Hello,
go
sir.
help this poor man who's in danger.
Sir, my tummy. It's very empty.
It's locked.
Again, I know that when they're red, that means they're locked, but I still have to check. Because what if it's not? Oh, hello.
Just little guys. Good grief.
Ah, let's do a quickie. I need the blood.
Gives you like half a bar back now, just doing a
Yeah.
bite.
It's very good.
Good upgrades.
Cadigan Bates has exploited us. Yeah, we know. He's a landlord. Does give us a chance to ask him about it, though. Make him more tasty. Hello? I'm sure he's fine.
Is this where you came in?
It might be.
I think you gotta jump in the zombie hole.
Pull. We'll just unlock that door.
We'll get right there. We just got some stuff to do. Oh, found a rusty box of pills.
Hey. Anything else? Hi. Well, it's just the one, actually.
It's just the one stranger, actually.
Delicious rust. It'll help make sure that you get your daily dose of iron.
This is Braille.
Oh,
I need someone who
Ooh.
can read this.
we need 2 more of those, I think, for the quest. Maybe.
What happened? Who are you?
It's all right, sir. You're safe now.
Oh, a fellow Englishman. Thank you, sir.
I
For a
need.
moment, I thought those
my
bloody
hoodie.
heathens would kill me.
What are you doing here? This place is not safe.
Yeah, it's a cesspool, but it's mine. I came to collect some overdue rent. but those who still live here have gone completely bonkers.
You're very lucky to be alive.
No, that's just how
Yeah,
normal
filthy
people respond
immigrants,
to
fucking
landlords.
Savages, every one of them. And now with this bloody fever, they're
You
just
still get
animals.
eaten.
You can find
Yeah,
safety of
yeah.
sorts in Whitechapel. If you're quick and cautious, you'll be able to avoid the savages.
Oh, he's not worth very much, and he's
It's-
also gross.
It's more important to kill the landlord than it is to benefit from killing the landlord. But I mean, he does have
He's got like no blood though.
the cold.
We don't. So we'll send him, and I
You had
can't
better
do anything
return
to him right now
Whitechapel
anyway.
without delay.
So we do have to send him
It
back,
will
but
be
we'll
safe.
send him back,
Safety isn't really an issue in Whitechapel, because you
and
never
we'll
are. Never
we'll
have been.
heal him,
The old place is falling to pieces.
Yeah, and then
Thank you
then
for
we'll
the
do it.
advice,
and then we'll
sir.
fucking eat him.
Yeah.
Oh boy, will we eat?
I thought last time we just ate him as soon as we saw him, but I don't
I've-
remember.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
You had better return.
Safety.
I can do that. I just can't medical him right now. I would rather him be tasty. I don't feel like
Yeah,
he's worth it if it's just like the 400 and some points.
That's fair.
I'd rather
Not
get
the
him
effort.
up. Yeah, I'd rather get him up to the 900. He's definitely. We're gonna eat him. Don't you worry about that.
We don't want to eat
We don't want his
his-
gross blood.
the cold blood, his germs. We don't want his landlord germs.
Yeah, listen, it's already gross enough that we are doing an eat on him. Not because we're opposed to eating a man, but
For the good
because
of
he's
everyone.
he's a landlord, and that is the thing, isn't it? It's for the greater good. So we just have to get rid of the plague on the earth that is landlord. So that's cool and fun and great. What was I doing?
You know, the van line is sorry, shells out. Everybody loves a landlord. During this song.
Yeah. It's a good song.
Very good. It's a fun character. It's the only, like, not miserable part of the production. Even if he is a very bad man.
Yeah. How do I get? Go here. I see. I understand. Listen, even in miserable plays, you gotta have a moment of levity there. It's a good way to break it up.
You get one exactly.
Just the
Just
one. That's enough, though.
I always like it's like a huge applause, and it's because like it's just a very nice change of pace. It's not being miserable for a minute.
Right? Could say you practice brevity with your levity. Could say that. Don't know that I would, though. Excuse me? Give me that chomp. Give me that chomp. Stop. Stop doing the thing that you're doing.
Tall
I
bastards.
hate his stupid arm brace. Hate it.
Funny little shield.
Dumb.
His one Iron Man glove.
Whoa! Excuse me? Why do you stink?
Why is he a stinky boy? Dude's also a lady.
What? What?
Oh my god.
Jesus! Okay, well, we know that the stinky lady is bad now.
Stinky Grandma is the most powerful enemy.
My god. Stink
Don't mess
Ma.
with Stink Grandma.
Horrible lady. Oof.
Oh, we were T-posing for a second.
Yeah.
I saw it, Jonathan. You can't fool me.
Is that Rakesh speaking? Hey, buddy. It has been a minute since we've talked to him. How are you doing, pal?
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a pleasure to see
As
you.
a friend who were pointlessly rude to.
Right. Alright, he's got nothing to say.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really.
Rakesh, you have nothing. Rakesh, I think I've bought you out. Hey, pal?
Tomorrow, more bodies.
Here is my stock. You didn't show me anything.
I got a small bag of junk. Look at this junk. Isn't it neat? Okay.
Want a big bag of junk.
No, only small.
At least a medium bag of junk.
No.
Well, we do have the super move if we need it.
Right. Oh god.
I just remembered they were a thing, and it was crap in the boss fight.
Yeah. Very good. No. Sir. Let me do a chomp! Oh, you have no health! You have no health! Sir, you're dead!
The health bar was empty.
There was nothing there! Okay, I am scared of these things. What are my...
Beware.
It's these ones. No! Whoa!
Oh my god. Okay, that
Her
worked.
health just fucking vanished!
Didn't expect that.
Right?
Doesn't normally have that kind of effect.
This has never happened before, I swear. Sir, please. Thank you.
When we used it on the boss, it did like 6 damage in total from the explosion and didn't even make a flinch.
Right. But apparently very good against scowls. Or at least that specific scowl.
Yeah.
We'll take it. There's nothing else over here. Okay.
I think the damage over time was new and only happened on that type of anime. I don't think it did damage over time at all when you did it on people.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Well, it's on cooldown, so I can't check.
It's gonna
but
be.
there is a crossman behind me. Please
Crossman
lock on.
behind you.
Listen. No. No, sir, I need you to wait for a minute because my stamina keeps going away.
It's going away because it's invoking the power of God. To drain your stamina a little bit.
I need him to not do that. Sir, consider. Less Jesus, more dying. Do we... Okay. Well, we're back here.
Does she live in the grave yet?
Did I just not tell her to go back?
Oh.
Thought I had. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Very wobbly.
Listen, he got pummeled by a big stick. Anyone would be wobbly after that.
That's true.
Ma'am, you should not be here!
Are you all right? Miss
I'm
Shaw.
sure
My
we told
name
her
is
to go
Xiao
away.
Shun. This is the proper way to address someone in my country.
I do apologize, Xiaoshun. Are you all right?
Yes, I am. This is the only place where I can find
It's
some
not-
kind of
How?
sanity.
There's scows
Wait,
screaming
there's
everywhere.
Yelling boys everywhere.
Right?
Are you on your
Oh
own?
my god.
Do you have any friends or family who you could be with?
I have family and friends, but I need to be here alone. One day maybe I'll go back to them, but not now. I need silence.
Well, you're not gonna get that
I need
here.
sadness.
Listen, I understand wanting to be sad. That's fine and
I've
all,
seen
but
many
it's
deaths in my life,
dangerous here.
and we all grieve in our own way.
Yeah.
Consider
Some stay silent,
you
or
grieve
need to shout.
not
Others
here.
need company, and some just can't stand it.
Thank you for your sincere words, Dr. Reed. I sense you trying to help me, even if
I like her
don't
hat.
quite understand why.
Yeah.
Tell
Goes
me
up and
how
down.
your husband died, Xiaoshun.
Matthew died of the Spanish flu, like so many others. It's a mundane cause of death these days, but for me it meant the end of the world.
At this time, there
Aw.
is so little medical science can do to defeat this terrible epidemic. I'm truly sorry.
The worst thing is not
Sorry,
his
my
death,
chest so
even
loud.
if it tears me apart. The worst
It's
is not to have
fine.
seen it coming, to have lost him so quickly, even before realizing it.
Did he hide? his
Sometimes Chair
condition
just needs to scream.
Matthew was a smiling type,
Yeah.
a happy sort,
Just needs to
everything
go.
that I am
"Ah,
not.
ah."
Did he laugh at his death to come, or did he not realize what was going to happen? I'll never know.
The Spanish flu may be the worst
So
disease
aggressive.
mankind has ever faced. Why are you blaming yourself?
You don't understand. I didn't know he was so sick. I didn't realize the gravity of his situation until it was too late.
harsh
You
as
can't
this
always know
sounds,
that.
We are all equally vulnerable to this awful
Said
disease.
it's
Especially.
It
fail
can
in
take
2
the
days
strongest
right
man
now.
in just a couple of
Yeah.
days.
I never said goodbye to Matthew.
Yeah.
We never realized how bad it was. We laughed about it even. He always made me laugh. Now I don't have enough tears to shed.
But again, it's there. You don't be sad. Be sad about it. That's okay. But you can't.
Are you a
not
doctor yourself?
Her fault.
Is
that
this why you feel
he
so
died
guilty
from it,
for not saving
even
your
if they
sick
managed to like
No, I am
recognize
not.
that it was bad.
But I
There's
still
Yeah,
need
even
to
if they
blame
did
someone for
realize no one
Matthew's
could do
death.
anything about
And
it.
who
Yeah.
else if not his wife, who did not see it coming.
I'm a physician, one of the best in the country. But I was unable to save my own sister, Mary.
Well, Jonathan, that's a
died.
different situation entirely.
Is it supposed to make me feel better?
She will rest in this cemetery forever.
Died in my arms
And I'll
because I
spend
was
eternity
murdering her.
hoping that
Because
she
it
will
was
find
my
me.
May I
fault.
ask what caused the death of your sister?
You could say she was also killed by a terrible disease. A
Sorry.
disease
You could
I
say
have
that.
sworn to fight and cure.
You could
no
also
matter how
say
long it takes.
Thank you
a
for
scary
sharing that
monster
with me,
bit
Dr.
an
Reed.
echo.
Maybe it's time we start to rebuild our lives, you and I.
You realize you can't stay here.
Oh,
forever, don't you?
jeez.
Eventually, you'll have
Oh,
to leave the cemetery.
Jonathan.
Why? Why should I go? Since this is the only place I can find peace of mind.
It's really dangerous here.
Bad here. Yeah.
But you're not dead.
It's none of these options
There is
are
a
hate. It's
difference
really
between
bad
visiting
here.
and staying with
Yeah,
You sound like you're no stranger to the pain I feel.
Let's just say
it's one of
I
those
too have a good reason to visit
differences
cemeteries.
between the
Please
gameplay and the
accept my condolences.
Yeah.
the narrative
Dr.
things.
Reed.
And that's fine. But also, it's dangerous here. Have you seen the? We'll say raving lunatics because we don't need to get into the whole what they are thing. But like, have you not seen the madmen running around screaming constantly?
You should go home.
I think you're right.
The
Cemeteries are for the dead.
fucking
For they need silence.
vampire hunting gang is also like
Yeah.
real bad.
Yeah.
They don't get you the wet
Thank you
boot
for
boys
your
as well.
company. Take care on the way home.
Maybe I'll
Danger
see
in
you again
every-
in Whitechapel.
Every corner.
Goodbye for now.
I like this lady. She's cool. But
How
also,
is the sanitary situation
She doesn't
evolving
need to
in
go home.
Whitechapel these
yeah.
days?
My only relief is that my Matthew died before seeing the madness that
At least she's
approaches.
agreed to go.
I'm afraid
That's
we
good.
won't
We've done it. We've
survive
done our
this
job.
trial, Dr. Reed.
Nothing else here. Nothing else here. She is
Goodbye for now.
pretty tasty, but we're not eating her.
So many new graves.
If we had assurances that if we ate her, we could wear a hat, maybe.
I would consider it for the hat,
But...
but you know, she is currently using the hat. Oh, this is him getting recruited. I don't want to tell his dad because his dad's a fucking disaster.
yeah.
But I am scared that he's gonna join the Wet Boot Boys if I would give him the letter. That's his choice, though.
Yeah.
The letter does say that he is very stupid, so maybe he'll be like, hey, maybe I shouldn't join these guys. What is this? Seymour Fishburne. Clay Cox. Oh! Oh! Those are the
Oh.
people that I have eaten.
We know those ones.
Seymour was the murderer and
Yeah.
Clay was the tutorial? Huh. Neat! That is kind of cool that they show up here.
Yeah.
Oh. Scowl's over there. Dog?
Noisy Scowl.
I
Slapping
don't need
some
to.
soup over there. We're eating spaghetti in the graveyard.
Right? Tasty. How do I get out of here? How do I leave?
Left hand wall.
Probably. Follow this one. Oh, it is Dog.
Hey, dog. Is dog
Excuse
friend of
me.
Scowl?
I mean, they were eating together. Sir? Where are you going?
Didn't know they got off.
Right?
Thought dog was his own faction.
Same. Ah, apparently they're cool. Sir?
Yeah.
Nope. Nope, 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 nope. It's fine.
Just kept whooshing.
Yeah.
He wasn't even hitting you, it's just whooshing back and forth. Getting clobbered with a big stick.
Okay. Then we go down this way.
Oh.
I'll go zoom. No.
Oh.
How?
How is
Just
leave?
this way. Here. Nope.
How is leave performed?
How do eggs? There it is.
Hey! We found the door!
My god. How does that woman navigate this place? It's horrible there. Jeez.
Walks past all the werewolves and crazed gunmen.
I was hoping he would fall off the edge. Also, hello, Nem. Stream's going good. Thank you for the hydrate.
Oh, that guy flew over. Oh, never mind. Gravity has resumed.
Where is he? There he is. You can kind of see him down there. There he is.
One of those Wile E. Coyote situations. He just levitated until he looked down.
My god. Well, this seems like a good shortcut, I guess. Why is the situation serious in Whitechapel? Is it because everyone's ill? It's because everyone's ill, isn't it? Yeah, it should get better once we rest, though.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It's just a little concerned. how are you doing, friend? How's it going? How do I leave? I would like to not be here anymore.
Having some navigation difficulties here.
Yeah.
The one-way system, it'll get you.
I have to go back. Wait. Okay. No dream dropping.
No
Oh.
dream dropping.
No, thank you. One of these days, we're gonna drop from one of those ledges, and Jonathan's knees are just gonna fucking explode out of his body.
You were saying we're gonna drop from one of those ledges and enter a whimsical world with Michael Mouse and
God, no.
Donald Duck will be there.
I wouldn't wish that hell
yelling
upon
his
us.
signature catchphrase.
Shook my dick.
That's what he always says.
It's his favorite thing to say. Known fact. It's true.
It's not normally that bad. I normally play the Kingdom Hearts is on Proud Mode.
Yeah,
It depends
but
on the game. Proud Mode on Kingdom Hearts 3 is like, if you stop pressing all the buttons, you'll die. Whereas
but-
normal mode is, even if you stop pressing the buttons, you probably will somehow win.
But why would you stop pressing the buttons? Is the thing.
Or what if your controller disconnects, so you fall asleep?
Just fall asleep in the middle of the game. You know, I think
brother did once fall asleep playing a first-person shooting game. The really
How?
shit FPS on the Xbox.
My God.
The game body count. I remember I were on the computer and you were playing the Xbox. And like I looked up and you were just walking into a wall. It's like, what are you doing? And he woke him up. And he was just like, I'm never gonna play this game again.
Sir! Sorry, that was very annoying.
That's our review of body count on the Xbox 360. The game's so good, you might actually fall asleep while you play it.
Well, hey, if you're ever having a hard time getting to bed one night, pop in body count. You'll pass out immediately.
The bodies will hit the floor because they're too bored to remain conscious.
Sorry, that scowl eating that person in the corner just sounded like Farley licking himself. It was horrible.
You're really low on health, by the way.
Yeah, I just don't want to be here anymore. Oh, that doesn't open. Okay, cool. Neat. Jonathan, you have to hit the man that's in front of you. You have to hit him. Yum, 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 he said. Oh, no. Just pop one of those in.
Why do you think season 3 of I think you should leave?
I really liked it.
I don't think there were as many bangers as there were in season 1 and 2, though.
No, I think the quality was more consistent throughout. While they weren't all like top tier, they were.
No wet mud. No. No, the baby from the plane. Comes back to have revenge on the baby on the plane.
Yeah.
And then, oh god, I have to finish writing the script at some point, and there's no punchline. What do I do? I'll just keep putting more words in, and eventually it'll end.
Yeah.
You look so pale, my lord.
Man, please. Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I have just been kind of like wandering around my house talking to my cats. I'm just going, I was too hyper. Anytime they like run away from me.
It's like the giant man just sitting down and being like, I got too hyper.
Too hyper.
It's always happens.
Now you're in more trouble than I am. That one was very good. I also liked the eggs one. I couldn't like quote anything from it aside from maybe a little bit of porn. But I just liked the egg. I just liked the egg.
Apparently the egg game one is the one like Twitter really enjoyed. The one people talking about. So I retroactively hate because I want more people to be talking about the promise you'll never do anything that's a rule ever again.
That one
Which
was
is
great.
by far the best one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also definitely should have been in the widescreen aspect ratio.
100%. The fact that it wasn't.
The one
very
place
surprising.
that dropped the ball was with the ones they picked to put in widescreen this season. Because they were just very normal sketches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not me.
How are you, boy?
I'm not your boy, all right? Now piss off.
Thought you were gonna think it was real. Fuck. Did like that one too. But it had the man from Portlandia, whose name I can never remember because it's very long and strange. But he's great.
I found the recruiter
He
you were
was in
expecting.
Our Flag Means
He's
Death.
dead, but he
I
carried
loved
a
him.
note. The Wet Boot Boys have accepted your application.
I knew it! I told you I was tough enough. I'll be
Sir.
free soon.
This man
No.
is an idiot.
I mean, we're gonna tell him
You're
he's
being
gullible.
manipulated by these criminals. What's worse,
It
that you're
Fred
literally
Armisen,
says
yeah.
in the note that the criminals are manipulating you. That's
None
what
of
they
which
said about
concern
you.
me.
Right?
Don't
Like,
worry about
Jonathan, give him
someone
the
else.
fucking no.
I'm fine and I have a future here.
Alright, well,
Goodbye.
later, loser. Okay, his name's not as long as I remember it, or as long as I thought it was, but I always forget his name. He's great, though. Who else? Is this? Can I see this on our map?
I quite like the Tim Heidecker one, but my favorite Tim Heidecker one
Oh.
is still the first. Oh,
Fatal error.
oh no.
Game crashed. I mean, it had to have just saved, right? Because we finished that quest. The Tim Heidecker one was the club one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the doctor wants to go
Yeah.
to the Haunted House Club.
Take me to the Haunted House Club.
I love that. It's like a recurring thing. There's always one Heidecker in there somewhere.
We still love him as the guy that likes the weird avant-garde jazz.
That's the best one. It's amazing. Webby, your nutcracker. Oh, this gazpacho soup is burning my mouth. Remember, I told you you'd never be a good writer because you don't have a curious mind. You can't hit the high C all night.
Yeah, I think like across the board, like, because I know that like Sam watched it in their server with a bunch of people, and I think everyone was also like, is that Tim Heidecker or is it not? So I'm glad it wasn't just
Tim
us.
Heidecker when I see him.
Okay,
I knew
but there was
immediately.
nah, there was a moment there where I looked at him and was like, are we sure? And then
You
it
show
was.
me a Heidecker, I can tell you that's a Heidecker.
I see. Nah, it was very good. So yeah, season 3, pretty great. Not as good as the other ones, but like across the board, pretty consistent. We appreciated that. The dog door, the fucking dog door. That one I think was one of my
That was very
favorites.
good.
It's just a pig in a mask.
Pig and Richard Nixon. Yeah. I thought I was gonna be here, and my reaction was, at least I won't have to go to work tomorrow. That's when I realized I hit my jaw.
I definitely need to watch it again. Probably like while I work or something, because it's good background noise,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I cannot enter.
But, oh yeah, I liked it.
Something like the one with the, I can't remember his name. The dude is always there, who did the metal man on the wall. The
Yeah!
magnetic metal wall man. And the wall is his ground.
When science failed you, this elixir will
Sam
give
friend
you
didn't
faith again.
like that one. Sam brother didn't like that one. I was like, what do you mean? It was
It
great.
was so good.
How do we get him sculling around up there like a little bug?
A little bug. Need you to move faster. I can't. The suit's heavy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Good times. Where am I going?
Oh, it's the game hub.
Yeah. Am I not sharing it with you?
Yeah, you are. It just didn't. I had to click over to the capture again.
Oh. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me had I forgotten to share it, but I shared it. It's fine. We just wandered around. Nothing happened. But we're back. Hey, game's back on.
Metal Wall Man's no chunky, but I love him.
Chunky. Oh god. That's a chunky.
Goblin up your points.
Oh. I think you should leave. Good show.
Yeah.
I'm going the wrong way. It's fine.
Thinking
I don't
about
know that I can
the
get
weird
there.
one with Bob Odenkirk, season 2. Apparently is that just Bob Odenkirk just turned up and they just filmed him. And he just said things.
I love that. Oh.
Got a wife. Tell her I've got a wife. She's beautiful, but she's dying.
Doesn't he go on and on about like a nice car for a while too?
Well, he has doubles of all the nicest cars, triples of some of them.
Right, right.
And that's
That's
all true. All the stuff about the ice cream machine's also not true.
That's one of those that I can't quote at all, but I well, of course you can. But I absolutely adore it.
I just love the twists and turns.
Yeah. Oh god. Good times.
Bob Odenkirk, kind of a funny dude.
Oh my god, he keeps stepping backwards. I need to leave. It's time to leave. I think I should leave.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me just stand over here for a minute and keep healing.
Slam fire out for a minute. It's fine. Oh god, he knows scopes you. Quick on the draw, that lad.
Fucking hell! Stop! Everyone is shooting me!
I think they're doing it on purpose too.
It's even worse! This fucking guy. Stop!
So stinky. Oh, that's a good move though.
Claw
Claw
him
gets
and
you
then
in
just
on him and then just, yeah, wail.
Just wail on him. Oof. I need a juice box. Hey. Would you like to be my juice box? Thank you! I would like to do an eat on you as well, honestly.
Hey.
Sir, you can't turn like that when I've dodged to the side. Also, how did that not hit you? It's fine, he's dead now.
Yeah.
My god!
Those guys are always problem.
Honestly, I don't
Just bad guys.
want to fight them. Oh, but I have to fight you! Ah!
All of you blue. Hey! Just gotta focus on them, which is kind of a problem when these little wiggly guys are around.
Right?
With the silly pistols.
Stupid pistols and the dumb fire. How are you not dead?
So we came here to burgle your turrets.
Travis.
Hi, Travis. The turret burgling scared me. I wasn't prepared for it. And suddenly my turrets were getting burgled? I need to remember to change your sound command, Fruity, and I don't remember to what? I don't remember what it was.
It's supposed to be Big Joel saying this
Right!
twink has done some bad things, I think.
That tracks. Need to remember to do that. Maybe I will do that after stream.
I was gonna ask when Travis reminded me those were a thing.
Yeah, see,
No.
that's also what happened. I remembered that they were a thing when Travis did it, and then I was like, oh, hey, I didn't do the thing I said I was gonna do. Oopsies. It's because I forgot. Listen, I've been a little distracted recently. With things and stuff.
Perhaps we should have listened to what the idiot had to say first.
Sorry, that man started talking at me and I got scared. Apparently I'm just getting scared.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, good. I'm glad you were expecting the turret burgles. Nice job, stars! I'm one of those weirdos that
firing
like...
out poison green gas that covers you in goop and drains your health.
My god. I'm one of those weirdos that like stealing dishes, but I also don't like it when they've stacked up for a while and you just have to do all of them.
I don't mind dishes. It's just... Oh.
Just one of the
can be
never-ending
quiet
chores
and
that
out
you
of the
do.
way and doing dishes. My hands are warm and it's great.
Yeah. I like touching the water. Oh, what's happening? Yeah, there's always so many utensils. It's awful red out. Hey! Hey! It's Vamp Dad! Vamp Dad, I can't run right now. You could have appeared a little closer to me.
You must prepare, child, for the earth is bleeding and the harvest is upon us.
Okay.
Stay away, whoever you are.
This is no time for
Jonathan,
petty quarrels.
we approached him.
Can you not hear?
We are to blame in this situation. The famished queen is just a big stick,
I
as
am
we've
not
discussed.
your champion.
But of course you are, son. As surely as you are the blood of my blood.
I had to kill Mary.
I have known your pain, child. Do not succumb to...
Silence! I dismiss you now!
Jonathan,
The
that's not
land
gonna...
calls for a
Hey bud, what are you doing?
All and everyone needs you.
Silence.
Very dramatic lad, that Jonathan.
Tired of
Right?
these puppet shows.
Really good voice acting.
Honestly, though. Like, across the board, I don't think that there's been, like, a voice actor that we've come across that I've been, like, about.
There's some that are like alright, some of the side
Yeah.
characters, but there's none that are like bad.
Yeah.
And the main cast are amazing.
Yeah. Is this where I'm supposed to be? This seems incorrect.
Doesn't look like a mansion.
No, I heard that yawn.
A little one. Just a tiny little yawn.
Yawning just a little.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Why are we yelling at me?
All right.
Why Dawson?
Do I have to go through this building to get to the other side? Oh my god, who is honking?
Everyone. It's full honk
Listen
out.
to them. Oh no. Stop! I have no stamina! I meant to jump on him, but you know, that's okay.
Look at where he jumped.
Right? It's fine. He waited, which I appreciate. Woof! Give me your bits? That man has no bits. None bits
Nice
from
of him
him.
when the tech turns.
Yeah! Let's all line up, single file, and attack me one at a time, please! Like, if you're gonna attack me, let's... Hi! Who are you? I can't get through here.
They want war.
Flame
I'll show
drone!
them war.
Flame Drone
Oh, whatever
626
that
is
poor
rating
woman
with a party of 2.
Nobody deserves this.
Kayshurrr and the gang welcome you.
Hello and welcome, friends. How are you doing? How's it going? Let me get a shout out. Whoop.
Hi, friend.
I know how to type things. Doing more Destiny 2. How was it? Welcome in. We're playing Vampyr. It's us talking about vampires. Hey, good job. Whoa.
Oh, jeez, he's got a katana.
Sir? Hey, look, here's the thing. I was just hanging out. Is that a katana or a saber?
It's a weirdly curvy saber, I think.
Hey, 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 hey! No! Sorry.
Give me your blood!
It was stealing my blood from my body! That's my blood! What's the good Iron Banner games today? Nice! It's going pretty well over here. Up until just this moment when the man decided to try and steal my blood. Doing real good, though. I need to open up that gate. Sorry.
It's fine, I just said it was very rude of him to steal your blood.
Yeah! Listen! If I had, like, attacked him, I'd get it. Steal my blood. I deserve that. But, like... I was just... Yeah! I was just here, man. I didn't want any trouble. I was gonna help him do a murder on the man, but he had it covered. Do I not need to open the gate then? Wait. Okay. Alright. That's cool. But listen, I'm nice, actually.
Don't steal my blood, I'm nice.
Yeah! Alright, where'd you go? Is this your place?
That looks like it might be the place.
Yeah.
So this is where she lives.
Oh, you got a lead
What a
stick.
splendid house.
Lick it. Lick the lead stick. New sparks. Do they have the ability to steal those? I don't think they do. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. But yeah, welcome in. As per usual, if you need to take a break or anything, feel free to do so. You've probably been streaming for a while, and it's important that you take care of your dang self.
Welcome.
But also, if you're gonna hang out, we're really
As
happy
good
to have
as
you
one
here.
can be, considering the circumstances.
This lady.
Death and affliction seem prevailing themes.
She's bad.
This fucking
Jonathan's
lady.
gonna be
Come in.
so
We have
shocked when
much
it
to
turns out
discuss.
she's bad.
Horrible.
Disturbed you.
Horrible
Not at all.
woman.
Actually, I was counting on you visiting me tonight.
How strange, this painting. Beautiful, melancholic, yet with a haunting dignity.
You're just saying words right now, Jonathan.
A long time ago, a friend asked me to paint this for him, but I kept it in the end.
I did
Okay.
not know you were a painter, my lady.
There are many things you do not know about me, young Ekon.
Let's keep it that way, I think.
Yeah.
Why do you continue to mock me?
Please excuse my behavior, Jonathan. I tend to tease my friends.
I'm not your friend!
What is bothering you?
Yeah, but why are you mocking us?
Your letter was quite
We'll talk about this in a few minutes. For now, I would like you to tell me about yourself.
Not your
How
fucking
have you
friend!
been since we last met, my friend?
I'm not your friend! Anyway.
My sister
sorry.
Mary.
Just gonna get more and more shrill
She
with
was
that.
made a vampire in the same way I was.
Started out
was the
incredibly
one killing
sus, and now
all
she's
of
trying way too hard, which is also
Vengeance
incredibly
is a
sus.
powerful
Right?
force
No matter what she does,
for
she's
those
just gonna
betrayed.
make herself seem
Made
more
vampire through
weird and
careless
suspicious.
error.
And
Victims by
I think she
surprise.
should stop. Consider. Stop.
I swear I did not intend that. If only I had known then how vampires are created.
That is the scientist speaking. In truth, most of us do not know how it really works. Personally, I make sure my prey will not return to haunt me.
What do you mean?
I am merciless, Jonathan. I only feed on the dying, and I make sure they are dead before leaving their remains.
Okay.
In the end, she implored me to put an end to her misery.
Again,
But
definition of
still, I
dying can
felt
be
I had taken her life twice.
I
very
am so sorry for
wiggly.
my accidental cruelty.
Yeah.
Had I known your dear Mary was still alive,
If her evidence is that they were dead when she finished, you know.
There is no need to apologize, my lady. Your words have been most helpful in these difficult times.
thank you, my friend. If only we could have guided your poor sister through her terrible nightmare.
Sure, but it's whatever.
I came to the conclusion that my maker, whoever he might be, must be
Sister were
a
really
powerful
cool.
vampire.
Yeah!
Certainly
Wish we didn't have to
extremely
kill her.
Yeah, I
How
wish she were
have you
anymore.
reached
She
this
was great.
conclusion?
Oh.
He is the only immortal I've seen appear.
That's the
in
kind of
an
dramatic
ethereal
vampire I want to hang out
form.
with.
His voice, his words seemed ancient. It was disturbing.
I am afraid you are right. The simple fact that your blood made Mary such a strong Ekon proves that you must be of ancient lineage.
I mean, all vampires are dramatic, but there are varying levels of dramatic.
I felt this
Mary
power
was like
radiating
top
like an aura
tier,
every time he
like
appeared.
Most
traditional
ancestral
gothic
vampires of England
sort
were
of
killed by the
drama,
Guardian
and I
Queen
was
half a
there
century
for
ago.
it.
I wonder who you know.
You have no idea who he could be?
Some of the ancient ones fled
Same.
England.
Same.
Some
I
may
need that
still
theater
be
kid
Kid
vampire.
vampires is
All I know
extremely
is
correct.
you, my friend, are a pawn in some
That should be the
secret and
only
obscure
option.
game of chess.
But yeah, no, it was so good. So good.
I think I should ask the questions, your ladyship. After all, it was you who invited me to settle this most urgent of matters.
Fair enough.
And then you've
Jonathan.
got Lady Ashbury
The
over here who's just
situation
like,
is critical.
I'm just
We do not
mysterious
have
and
the luxury for
and
etiquette.
definitely
Please do
not
not misunderstand
suspicious. I'm a
I would
nice
be delighted
lady.
to
And it's like,
discuss
no, you're
mundane
not. And we all know you're not.
matters.
Stop pretending.
If we survive the dark nights to come, we shall have all the time in the world to speak, you and I. For now, please follow me, Jonathan.
And then Jonathan's just over here being moody, and I love
I
it.
must say, Your house is
I'm
exquisite.
gonna say,
One of the advantages of living forever is
it's
having
a
the
little
time
weird
to be
tonally that
selective
she
with
just
one's
shows up and
furnishings.
it's like, hey, it's me, your friend, your dearest and
I
oldest
took
friend.
the liberty of having tea.
Love hanging out with
You
you
can
like we do
still
all the
drink
time. And Jonathan's like,
Can't keep it down.
extremely
but I do so
suspicious
enjoy
and
the
standoffish.
Let us toast to make-believe. And of course, to your
It's,
health.
I thought it was like because of the options we picked, but it's
to yours,
kind of
my lady.
not. Jonathan's
No.
kind of just like that, and
Yeah.
yeah. And she's like not reacting to the specific options we've picked, but like,
Please,
it's
call me
very
Elizabeth.
strange. The
So, my lady, why
I
the
thought
way the
they-
conversations
did you
have
invite
been
me
going.
here?
I've been
Yeah,
asked to deliver an
I
official
don't-
invitation to meet the Ascalon Club.
Okay. I haven't like. It's really noticeable here. There've been a couple of instances
Yeah.
where it's been a little bumpy for some of the characters, but they've at least like. I think a lot of the times we've just kind of written it off as like the reason why it seems this way is because Jonathan was doing his weird vampire things, and so he has to be assertive and aggressive.
He is
And
always just
that's
like
just
that.
that is just him.
Like, it just don't make sense, Lady Ash, right? Just deciding that you're friends
Yeah.
when he's doing that.
I mean, I'm sure it's from a story point of view, I'm sure it's her just trying to like be amicable and like be like, oh, I mean, you can be suspicious, but see, I'm a really nice lady, actually.
Mia's not reciprocate this, and I'm not even sure we were given the option to, like, if
No.
we wanted to. Yeah.
No. Not in the slightest. So yeah, I think this is like the first time that it's been like egregious. It's been incredibly noticeable how strange it is.
Who are
But
Really?
you know,
They are
I
the
need them to
embodiment
stop
of
just
vampire
staring
law in
deeply
Britain.
into each other's eyes.
Some
I
say
hate
they
this.
influence the destiny of the Empire. Some believe they merely protect it.
How many are they?
Only a small number of powerful and deceitful immortals. All of them entangled in a sticky web of shadow cabinets, influencing trade.
They blinking just a little bit.
Will they fight the
Well,
guard of Priwen?
I
Jonathan
doubt it.
was at least.
Fergal was Lord Redgrave's executioner forever and a day. By defeating that beast, you deprived them of a powerful weapon.
Liked blinkage.
Why use you to contact me?
Because they know we are close.
But
The Ascalon Club has many spies.
close is a
Their main
strong
occupation
word.
is gathering information.
I
and
know
then
of
deciding
you.
How to use it.
Have they threatened you in any way?
Not at all. Their message surprised me at first. But it is only logical, considering the critical situation in London.
Do we think Lady Ashbury's part of the Ascalon Club, or part of, like, a second club that's trying to wrest power from the Ascalon Club? That's
Definitely
also
the
an
latter.
ancient shadowy, yeah.
Definitely the latter, because from what I remember, and I don't remember a ton about the Ascalon Club, it is very much just a boys'
yeah.
club.
Yeah, it's just dudes, I remember.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of stuffy, stupid dudes.
Why not
And they
ask
like,
for your help?
yeah,
Since you
and
are
that's
obviously a powerful and influential immortal yourself.
You have to understand that I am invisible to the eyes of Ascalon.
Oh, yeah,
For
she's
I am a woman.
yeah.
That suits me well, as long as they leave me alone.
Nah,
Should I
just,
trust
you need
them?
to get
Of
in
course
there,
not.
crack a
Do not
man
misunderstand
open,
me.
and
They can be
assert
very useful.
yourself,
But I believe their
ma'am.
long-term goals differ.
go
from
in there and
yours.
just start staking fools.
Because nothing
I
truly
were a
important can be
vampire,
achieved in this city
and there were a bunch of
without their
stupid
consent.
boys who thought they were
They
better
could be
than me.
powerful allies in
I
this
would be
current
cracking open
situation.
one. Crack open a boy with the cold ones. It's true though. That's what I
Should
would
I
do.
lie to them?
Just
We'll
get on in
all
there,
lie, Jonathan.
snap him over my neck,
It goes
shotgun
to
a
you
boy,
to choose your behavior.
and be like, "All right,
The most
bitches,
important rule is to show
this
them
is
due
mine
respect.
now." What are you
They
gonna
have
do
done
about
nothing
it?
But impede my investigations since
Yeah,
I
if they tried to
became
do
known
something
to
about
them.
it, shotgun
Why would they
another
want to see
boy.
me now?
I guess they now see you as Ascalon.
Repeat
the
ad
Curie.
nauseum until they
They
stop.
must have found out what happened to your sister. Proof of the potent blood flowing through your veins.
I'm not sure I can accept their invitation. I have seen their handiwork. How Fergal the Beast imposed the club's law.
You have no choice, Jonathan. Even I would not openly defy Lord Redgrave, the chairman of the Ascalon Club.
Okay, but what if I did anyway?
What can you tell me about Lord Redgrave?
Who
is
Lord Redgrave is the founder and chairman of the Ascalon Club. Most mortals know him as the Earl of Bristol. He is rich and extremely influential.
He's gonna be insufferable, is what that all means.
Have you met him?
Gonna
Only
be the
on rare
fucking
occasions, for
worst.
he never goes outside the club. And women are not awarded membership, even immortals.
Oh. Stars has been to Bristol. There were lots of rocks.
How old is he?
Were they cool
How
rocks
long
at least?
Has he been a vampire?
Lord Redgrave claims to be the progeny of William
Dang, there's
Marshall,
cool rocks in Bristol.
the most valiant
In
knight
Bristol.
who ever lived. If that is true, he could be very old.
Dang.
Many rocks.
The garden with some rocks? Ooh.
Rough
If you
Oh,
are convinced I must meet him,
there was another option in there.
Thank you,
Oopsies.
Jonathan.
I just
I
need to. I
understand
need
your
them to stop
reluctance to
making
brush
such
shoulders with
intense eye
London's
contact.
vampire
It is
elite.
making me
But we
uncomfortable.
have no choice.
Is the situation
little
that
strange.
critical?
Yes. The Guard of
Strange
Freewen
choice
has
of
called for a
scene.
second great hunt of our
Yeah.
kind. And they will stop at nothing to eliminate us.
Like, we should be discussing this over a table.
Will the guard of Freewen and the Ascalon
A
Club
really
fight
big
each other?
table,
I
really
doubt it.
long table. We're both on
If
opposite
Freewen
sides.
really launched
Yeah,
a great
We
Like
can't
that bit
hear each
in
other.
Deadly Premonition.
I think most of the Ekons I know would flee the country to escape the blood.
We ask a question about the Ascalon Club, and Lady Ashbury responds back with, "Oh, I'm sorry. There's not enough pepper in your tea. Let me go get that for you."
I think I saw them kill an echo on the way to your house.
Also,
This
hi,
has been
They
Ojen.
seem to have a
Yeah,
list
Kinda
of
awkward.
To launch
Kind of an
another
awkward
great
conversation.
hunt, they must
Lots
have
of good
collected
information, but also
intelligence
they're
on
just
vampire identities and
they're
whereabouts.
so close and they're just
They
staring
are
at
a
each other,
resourceful lot.
and
Should
we still
fight
look
back?
like absolute shit.
I will not be hunted down like an animal again.
I admire your courage, Jonathan. But the best way to fight them is to
I think
put
it's
an
because we're
end
not,
to
like,
the
eating enough
epidemic.
people. I think he's just
This
like
is the
that.
only way to clear the
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
That's just what he looks like now.
yeah.
What is a great hunt?
The first
I
great hunt
had hoped that
was
it
launched
was
about 75 years ago.
because we hadn't
In just
eaten
a
anyone,
few
but yeah, I
nights,
think that's just
the Guard of Freewen
that's just how we
located
look.
and destroyed most of the old British vampires.
Oopsies.
Why start a second one?
Freewen has always seen us immortals as a threat
Didn't the God
to
of
mankind.
Prewen was that powerful?
My guess is
That they
they
could
suspect
just
one or more of us is the cause
Do a
of the
big
epidemic.
vampire hunt and kill all of the big ones. I've been around a lot.
I might have missed it, but did they say that this happened like recently or a while back? Because I could see if it was like
back.
at that point, I could kind of see it if maybe like they were a bigger sect.
Yeah, they're literally just shaking
They're just a
people
couple
down
of
for
dudes
dollars
now.
Yeah.
as maybe the belief in vampires or like the knowledge of them being around or whatever has like dwindled, so is their general ability to, you know, be a big bad club or something.
How did you survive the first hunt?
I fled.
Vampire
Jonathan.
communication has to take place
Like
with
most
locked eyes.
vampires
Count
who
me
survived
out.
that slaughter. And I secretly came back when I was sure they had left.
Well, she needs to get her land legs back. She's so wobbly. She is moving a lot, and it's
You should
some of it
flee.
has to do with the fact that I'm not
Leave London, the country.
answering or like choosing
have
things
seen
fast
the
enough,
guard
and
in
so
action.
it's just her
They are
being all
merciless.
shaky.
Your concern warms my heart, Jonathan.
But
Fear not. If the
Don't worry
situation
about
gets too
it.
dangerous, I shall retreat to my secret Scottish manor.
Well,
I
now
can
it's not
hide you in my
secret.
luggage, if you wish.
No, I'm
Thank
good,
for
thank
the
you.
offer. I shall keep it in mind, but I have
Jonathan,
much to do
no.
here. There is a question I must ask you. Could Lord
Smuggle ourselves to
Redgrave
Scotland.
be my maker?
I doubt it. If Lord Redgrave had made you his progeny, he would not have seemed so surprised when you demonstrated the strength of your lineage.
Oh my god, she just won't stop talking.
The plan is we both try to save this city, you and I.
I also
Go to
can't
Ascalon,
wiggle the
accept
camera
their
around at all,
proposition,
so
and use their influence to promote
Well, that
your
doesn't mean
agenda.
this is just the default and it's this awkward.
yeah.
How can I save London?
I figured I should say something.
You
Since
must
I
find
can
its
usually
origin
wiggle the
and put
camera
an
around
end
during
to it.
conversations,
This is the
I've
best
not done
way to
this. This
solve
is
the
just how they've done
crisis.
it.
What will you do?
I still have contacts and old friends in this town. I shall make some inquiries.
Is Scotland
and attempt
secretly
to
secret?
learn more of the situation.
Not so secretly secret.
We
Hi,
need
Devo.
clarity.
You go to the top of England and then you go like a bit further up, but not too far, or you go in the water.
Will I ever discover the identity?
So they've made themselves hard to find by
Maybe
being
not,
surrounded by
Jonathan.
water.
We know for sure you were made
Surrounded
by
by
a
water in
powerful vampire.
England.
Most of those fled England long ago.
My god.
Please forgive my bluntness, but I have to ask. Was it
The
you?
ultimate disguise.
There's a lot of
Did you
places you can
make
hide in
Oh,
Scotland.
Jonathan.
A lot of
You
it's
know you
very
should
rural.
always have a gnawing doubt about who made you an immortal.
She's not gonna be hiding in
I
fucking
swear,
Glasgow or nothing.
I had
She's gonna
nothing
be
to do with it.
Sorry.
in the middle of nowhere.
If you hit Wales, you've gone the wrong way. And if you hit Ireland, how?
You have no idea at all. You seem to know so many things about the secrets of the
Wales.
underworld.
Even if I
That'd be
had
a
my
bad place to
suspicions,
hide.
I would not dare give you a name so soon. All I can say is this.
My
I will
god.
make inquiries and keep you informed.
Alright. Get
One
me out
day
of here.
soon, I will have to find the answer to this mystery.
And I shall help you in your research, I promise. For now, you must go to the Ascalon Club and
But
play
Wales
their
looks
game.
so pretty.
Will I see you again at the Pembroke Hospital?
Been to
No,
Wales a few
you'll find
times.
me here if you need me. I shall conduct inquiries alone, and we can then share our discoveries.
Oh my god. Sorry, there's
Will
just
you
so
not
much
visit Pembroke again?
No.
that I have to
I
talk
must
to this
remain discreet and
stupid
avoid
lady
attracting
about, and I
attention to
don't want to
Pembroke
talk to
Hospital for
her
the
because
time
she's a
being.
bad
How will
woman and I
you
don't like
sustain
her.
I shall not, Jonathan.
And it's very
Fear not.
awkward.
Yeah.
I'm used to it.
Listen, it's one thing when I make
When
the
will we
conversation seem
As soon
awkward
as you
because I've
meet
angled the
Lord
camera in a
Redgrave,
funny
I
way.
suppose.
Yeah.
It's another one the game forces
I shall
it
only
on
be
me,
a
though.
heartbeat away.
I want to thank you for all your support and your help, my lady.
Could you do
The
me a
way that
last
they keep
great
wiggling
favor?
just makes it
Call me
seem like they're gonna
Elizabeth.
go in
I
for a
should be
kiss,
honored.
which I hate.
Then it is settled.
Yeah.
Finally, some good news in these dark hours.
Like,
I
why
swear to
would they
God.
set the scene up like this.
I appreciate the advice.
Like, it seems like it was
I'd
meant to
best
be
prepare myself to meet
romantic,
this
but
Lord
also
Redgrave
they've
now.
just both
How
very
thrilling
dramatic
to meet the Earl of
vampires who are
Bristol in the flesh.
aggressive and standoffish.
Something tells me you're not very keen on the man.
Don't get me wrong. The gentlemen
Yeah.
at the Ascalon Club are honourable, but their attitude and opinions are
She looks
somewhat
like she's thinking about it but keeps
antiquated.
backing down.
I
Good!
see.
I have a doctor
As
boyfriend
long as
waiting
they
for me
deny
at my
access to
hospital.
female applicants, I will leave them to their antediluvian considerations as to the natural order of things.
I have had a conversation this
Promise me you'll be
intimate
careful.
before, and it was because I
Of
was
course.
incredibly stoned and
But
intense.
why the fear?
Look at me,
And I
Jonathan.
would get intense
I
when I was stoned.
I mean,
Thank God I can't do that anymore.
look at me, Ekon.
Ma'am?
Means you can't watch Django Unchained 1,000 times in a row.
We may be deceptive.
Never again. Don't do it.
This
Don't
hunter
watch
lady
Django
always
Unchained
told the truth.
when you are in an altered state. It's a bad day. I didn't hear nothing, Ojin. What are you talking about?
But come back to me soon.
Intense combos, but I cannot look someone in the eye. I either have to I either have to make intense eye contact with someone, only if they're comfortable with it, or no eye contact at all. There's no in between for me.
This is a very normal neurodivergent thing.
Yup. Yup. Yeah, no, I can't do the 3 seconds thing. It's either I am staring into your soul or I am looking around you. We have
Time to
so
visit
many
the
points.
Ascalon Club.
Okay, we have to meet the stupid boys. We talking while both people are drawing is so good. Just talking with people when everyone's doing something, doing their own little thing is delightful. I like
When everyone's doing something creative is
it's
perfect.
Give me that good parallel play while we're all just making things.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah. What was I? Right. We're almost at the 2-hour mark, but as per usual, do we want to go a little longer or do we want to stop around then? It is later than we normally stream on Saturdays.
It's a little bit. We can go a bit longer.
Okay.
If you're.
Yeah! Sir? Sirs? There is somebody in the wall.
Yeah, I saw something coming through. I didn't realize it were a god. Oh, is it a vampire?
I think it's a vampire. I can't chew on him though.
No, he's in a wall.
Oh, there's his health bar.
Hey. Oh, he's having a bad day.
The constant stunning was very good. Oh, it's a good thing I didn't need the blood.
Pulled 3 aluminium shards and 2 units of aluminium powder just out of the brick wall.
Can I?
Vampires do like to drink the wine. Oh no, they drink the blood and smoke the weed. They don't drink the wine. What am I talking about?
Very silly. It's
Vampires
very
would never do
incorrect. Ever turn into mist and accidentally materialize into a wall? Hate it when that happens. Didn't need to chew on the boy, but got it anyway. Mostly, I think I want to check out. We're kind of headed in the west, towards the west end, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
Kind of want to look at that area, see if we can meet anybody.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am heading the wrong way though. Wait. Oh, I saw the circle and didn't realize that was my cursor for a second. I was like, what's there? What does it want? What's going on over here? Yeah, I'd like to see if we can... Oh! 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 That's a big man! I mean, it's what Fergal was, right? It's not that big of a deal.
Except he's got something Fergal didn't have. A great big bushy beard.
So when are we watching Hot Fuzz again?
Did we watch Hot Fuzz last or Shaun of the Dead last?
I think we watched Shaun of the Dead last.
We'll watch it some point. It keeps coming back around.
Always.
Shocking.
Okay, that's like Lady Ashbury's house. Don't need to go there. We need to go this way. Ooh, car.
We haven't seen many cars that look like they could be driven in their current state.
Yeah. Also,
it's locked, all right.
Hideout. Hideout is where?
I thought I was using that as a door to like. Again, it's just resting against the wall.
Okay, so this is blocked. And I can't go up. But I need to go there. So we'll just walk around for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll keep trying to get into the West End. Beware! Train. Oh, the train's above me! Cool.
Nice.
Keep out!
Keeping it all.
Wow! What is happening?
Very ill.
That's locked. There are things happening over here. Wow!
You can't make that sound anymore. Ma'am. I have a card here. It says you can't make that sound anymore.
She's just stimming.
That was the vampire I saw earlier. This war takes no prisoners.
Okay. Listen. Jonathan. Hi.
Stupid thing!
Killed 2 of that guy. One of them was stuck in a wall.
Right? Sir? Sorry. She's doing it again! Why?
Murdering bastard!
Oh, that guy kept talking after he was dead.
Yeah. Icar's threats. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Also, goblin noises are a great way to, like, vocal stim, honestly.
Just let fish out everywhere.
Bad
And
stinky
the city's
fish.
shut down. They're gonna be so stinky.
Gonna smell so bad over here. Lucky. Hi. I know where this is. Whitechapel's right over there. That's where all of our friends hang out.
Nice.
Cool. So we have a shortcut now. Delightful.
The West End. Never have I felt so sad to be back home.
Hey, bud. Place you live? Kinda shitty. Not good here.
Are you from Ascalon?
Hello?
I don't care!
Ah!
I don't care! Has he just got a big stick? Or is-
It's a sword. Got a sword.
Oh, yeah,
He just
it's
healed.
Straight sword.
Sir! Where did my
Dang.
health go?
He's quite large.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah!
It's not gonna do much to him.
He stunned him though. That's good enough. Oh, his health is not going down.
Yeah. There's no way for me to dodge out of that, and I hate it.
It does so much damage.
Idiot.
Just gotta get boxes in the way. Whenever he does the big one.
Yeah. Ooh, ooh, do a chop.
You missed, you fool.
He's gonna... Oh my god! I couldn't get out of there! He comboed me to death!
Might have to level up at some point.
Yeah, well, we do have a lot of blood just kind of sitting in our pocket right now.
That's true.
I was gonna level, but I figured I'd wait
Large
until,
lads
like...
out.
Yeah, I figured I'd wait until, like, we were signing off. I was gonna do it earlier, but then we didn't really need to.
Could try and just dash past them and see if we can find people.
Yeah. Hold on. Who's this? Save the exhausted man by defeating his abductor. Wait, is that what we were just doing? Wow! Wow!
What big piss the goblin lady?
Wow! Wow! So sorry. Maybe she's onto something.
I think this is where we were.
Yeah. I think I have to save the man now before we sleep, is the other thing.
Oh yeah, probably.
Fuck. Okay.
You could get him, it's just gonna be really hard and take a lot of hits.
Yeah.
So weak.
You bloody London vampires! You southern softies!
I thought I had dodged that successfully, and I did not, and I am out of blood.
That's
okay. Stun the man. Get some hits in there. Get some blood.
A helpful lad who has some blood first.
My god, she will never stop.
Really going for it.
If I go to the side and directly at him, I can dodge it.
Yeah. No fear. Dodge right up into his face.
Just gotta implement the Dark Souls strats. And then if I keep doing this, then his max health goes down. So even if he does heal, at least it's not a full heal. Sir, you need to stop yelling.
He landed from the lead. Alright, that's a good way to dodge that.
Oh! Helps to hit the button at the right time, though.
Yeah. No one saw that, it's fine.
We got this.
This man's real into it.
I hope that's aiming properly. It was.
Yeah, the damage on vampires is non-existent, but the stun is incredibly useful.
Hey!
Hey!
Yeah, stun is very good. And it does let me get in there and, like, hit him quite a bit.
Yeah, once you got into, like, 3 hits to stunned, like, that was just free. You just fire the ult at any point and stun him for long enough.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to my jailer?
To get by
Be
him.
careful. He's as vicious as he is strong.
You don't
He's
have to
dead.
worry about him anymore.
Sir, don't worry, he's dead.
What
I like his
happened
little pocket
I am
square.
Tadao
It's
Kimura.
got a rose on it.
I was imprisoned by this lunatic for several days. I thought I was going to die here.
You're not going to die
That's
now,
fine.
Mr. Kimura.
Just
If
stood
you
outside
hurry,
going,
you
wow!
should be able to get home safely.
It seems that
Several
I am
days.
living my life. You have all my gratitude, Dr. Reed.
Me almost
since it
choking
is
on
the
my
most
soda at
precious
that.
thing I possess.
Ugh, we're fine. It's all fine. He's healthy and he's got a strong
Goodbye,
brain.
Mr. Kimura. Take
Reasonably blood-filled.
Yeah. I mean, he seems fine. Probably not eat worthy, but you know, might as well check.
Might turn out he's done some bombings really badly.
Heresy of the Pure Blood. Yeah, okay. Is there anything else in here? Absolutely not. Great. Oh boy! Where else are we? Get that out of here. That's the Ascalon clip. Wait, I think a lot of the people that we can meet here are Ascalon people. So maybe we can't meet everyone just yet.
Dang, that's a big cell.
Oh, it's a stinky lady!
Oh no. Are they the ones that go, wow?
Guess so.
Oh, she didn't melt when you did the thing on her?
That's tragic. Oh god. Oh god, everything hits hard here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely time to level up. That's fine. We have the points to do it. So, you know. We're less worried about that. I do remember why we, like, not that I didn't remember why before, but, like, I remember why it was so damaging that the Shancident happened.
We couldn't do anything
Yeah.
to these guys.
We got here and there was
couldn't get
nothing
any
we could do.
experience.
Yeah. It was just a bad time. These guys are still chumps, though.
We gotta do the regular skulls as well, it's just the special ones.
Yeah.
When they start teleporting and spitting out gunkus.
Yeah. Why are they so gunky? Let's do a second shot. Yeah. And he's dead. Great.
We're a level 26 men there. 1.5 times Jonathan's level, no problem.
We have found the West End.
The heart
Nice.
of British vampire society. Not quite as subtle as I expected. Good evening.
Hi, ma'am.
Oh my god, no. Please, Mr. Vampire, don't kill me. Please, no. I'm too young to die. I still have so
She
much
being
to offer this
sarcastic.
world.
Wait, no. Why do you think I would... What?
Don't worry, Dr. Reed. I know you wouldn't harm me. Mother told me you were in this.
Oh, I remember her.
Your mother?
My name is Charlotte, sir. Charlotte Ashbury.
Oh god.
My mother taught me long ago how to
Ugh.
recognize the signs that betray a vampire.
I understand she also...
Hands on her
taught
hips,
you
sassy while
tease
begging for her
to
life.
mock innocent young
Because she was
icons.
making fun of us.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Charlotte.
It's not. Only level 5, though.
What
She's
do you
got
think about this?
A lot of
I
potential
was
to be
raised
full of
here,
blood.
and I suppose it feels
Right?
Like home. You grew up in this part
We've
of
got
town
plenty
too,
of
did you not?
time to fill her up.
Yes, I was born a few streets away.
A small world, is it not? Did you ever imagine that my mother was your neighbor all that time? That you could have met her in a dark alley at night?
I haven't
You
thought
won't
about it
trick
'cause I
me
don't
twice,
care.
young lady. We both know Lady Ashbury never hunts or attacks prey at random.
Come on, Doctor. Don't tell me you never thought about that possibility.
I don't
Her
care about her
fangs on
enough
your
to
neck.
think about it.
Oh, are you blushing, Dr. Reed?
Ma'am.
Is there something that's bothering you?
No, that's just the weird gunk is on my
Individualism
face.
for my taste.
Don't
Even when
worry
there was
about
no epidemic.
There's a person
Even
over
if
there?
that's partly true, may I
Got
remind you that many charitable institutions...
the
are
very
funded by the
the very
self-interest
shiny
of
post
the
box.
few.
It's just
I suppose you're
doing
right.
its thing.
But society must
Yeah.
reform and renew itself, or we are all done for.
Okay.
What are you doing out here?
You mean, what do I do outside at night since I am a woman? Let me ask you a question, sir. Would you ask the same question of a man?
We ask everyone
Actually,
we meet
yes.
what they're doing.
I ask the same question to everyone who dares to go outside at night, considering the risks.
Well, if you must know, I campaign for the right to vote for all women. Why should I wait to the age of 30 years when men can vote at 21?
Are you a suffragette, then? Oh, you really are Elizabeth's girl. Without a doubt.
All adult women have the right to vote in the US, in New Zealand, and in Australia. But women here can't vote unless they are property owners.
No need to convince me, Miss Charlotte.
Gross.
I have shared your opinion
Yeah.
for a long time. Even before
The
I
thing
met
about
Emmeline Pankhurst.
England
Really?
is we always act like we're real progressive
Now I
about
see why my
things.
No.
So then it's like,
Too bad there aren't more
how
men
long's it
like
been
you in the
since
vicinity.
to go to prison for being gay. How long have I been allowed to vote?
Yeah.
How are the locals
Yeah.
reacting to your claims?
People here can't wait for a wall to be built to isolate the West End from the rest of town. That's how progressive they are. If this happens, Emily and I will blow it up.
Explosives are very dangerous, young lady. And who is this Emily?
She is my best friend, and a suffragette too. She was supposed to campaign with me tonight, but hasn't turned up.
Have you any reason to be worried about her?
Recently, Emily started to believe in... well, she got interested in vampires. I'm afraid she might be in trouble.
Let me guess. You spoke to her about us, didn't you? Despite your mother's warning. I think I should try to find your friend.
No, I think this sounds like a her problem.
I can tell you where she might have gone. You have my thanks, Dr. Reed. And please, don't tell my mother.
Tell me about your adoption.
What do you want to know?
Who are your real parents?
Elizabeth Ashbury is my real mother. She raised me and has taken care of me all
Not
my
great
life.
question, but hey.
I have no idea who my progenitors are or were.
Do you live with her?
I still spend a lot of time in my mother's mansion, but I have my own house now. I have a life to live, you see. And one day, I'll have my death to face.
How did you meet Lady Ashbury?
Wait, is
First,
she...
I was an
Ask your
orphan
mom
in
to
the
get on
institution
there.
for girls she manages in
Say
the
it.
West End.
Right?
When
Like,
I was 10,
assumed that she was already a vampire,
and I
but
have lived with
I
her
guess
ever since.
not?
Did you know she was a vampire when she picked you?
The correct word is Ekon, Doctor. And no, I had no idea why my mother only showed up at night. She told me everything when I turned 16.
Well,
Though I suspected the truth.
The word you're looking for is Ekon. We're not using the V word.
Oh
What exactly
no!
has your mother told you about me?
Your name and profession, obviously. And the mystery about your maker. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your sister, sir.
I
Mother
killed
says it
my
was not your
sister
fault.
twice.
Does it not scare you?
Yeah, but the second time we did it, it was
Why
real
should it?
cool.
My mother is the
Yeah.
most compassionate
Hurtful
woman.
scene.
Must I be wary of her, Dr. Reed? Or you?
Of course not. You have nothing to fear from me or your mother.
Good
I
to
don't
know.
particularly care what
And
happens to
don't
this
worry,
woman.
My mother told me everything I need to know about vampire tricks, their nature as well as features.
So
Your
when she
mother is
started
unlike
referring
any
to
other vampire I've met.
Lady Ashbury as
believe
mother,
she
I
thinks the
assumed
same
that
about
she
you, Dr.
meant like
Reed.
vampire mother, which is why I
Yeah.
was like, well, this is a weird way to like phrase it. And then I realized, and then further into the conversation, I was like, oh, she like actually adopted you.
Do you know why
Okay.
Lady Ashbury chose you to become her daughter?
No, I don't. Each time I ask her that question, she smiles and says it's precisely because I dare to ask such questions.
Do you ever regret
That's
that she
stupid.
chose you?
Such a fucking nerd.
I
Right?
often wonder if she adopted
But then
others
Charlotte's
before
also
me.
a horrible nerd.
So,
They're both
where
horrible
are the
nerds.
buried?
Yeah.
How was it
It's
for them to
contagious.
pass through
Level
the
of the
with a
Spanish flu.
never-aging mother?
My God.
Goodbye, Charlotte.
Okay, I need to
Give
stop
my
talking
best
to this
regards to
woman.
your mother.
She is
Yeah.
grimacing at
She's
us.
been quite busy these last few nights. I suspect you may see her before me.
Okay, well that's not my problem. What are these? West Enders must unite! Don't let them fool you! Don't let them control you!
That's the one
Vampires are real.
we pop.
Yeah. Huh. That's, consequences of our actions and all that. Who's in here? Hello?
Hello? Is anyone there?
Jonathan, is that you? I did not know you were back in London.
Who's
oh,
this?
my dear Johnny.
It's
I'm
Venus.
so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I come in?
I was going to bed, actually.
Lol. Okay,
Forgive
bye.
With the epidemic, I tend to forget people are supposed to sleep at night.
hypnotize
tell you
this
what,
poor lady so
come
we can
back
come in
tomorrow
and
for
steal
tea.
all her aluminium
I'll be
scrap.
glad to see you then.
Perfect. Give it to me. Give me all of the aluminium.
Aluminum.
Aluminum. Either way you say it, it's just a very funny word, if you ask me. What's this? Do I unlock this? It's been unlocked! Great, so that gets us to the docks more easily. You love to see it.
I like to think it were aluminium first, and then someone just decided, nah, I can't be fucked.
No, that is genuinely what happened.
Okay. Aluminum?
So the reason why us Americans call it aluminum is because aluminium was too long and you had to pay per letter in like presses and stuff. So they just said, well, we can't pay for the whole word for aluminium, so we have to like just make it short, and that's why we call it aluminum. Because somebody couldn't be bothered.
Can I help? I'm a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
So your headcanon was correct. Also, I don't know that this lady is doing well.
Where are the rats?
Miss.
Oh, is she
you
a
don't seem
vampire?
well at all. Are you afraid of rats?
Yeah, in color versus color. Most of the words that had the unnecessary "you." That's why we dropped it. Because it's expensive.
I can't stop eating them.
This lady's eating the rats.
Yeah, I think.
They have to get rid of her. How much blood's in it? Not a whole lot. But
not a whole bunch. Consider we adopt her and teach her how to be a proper vampire.
The answer hides in their little crunchy bones.
Oh, wait.
Their juicy.
If she was like, I'm sorry, I just the prompt pops up and I don't know what's going on. And I ain't even seen the rat most of the time. I just felt like this is irredeemable.
He forces me to do so. Drink their blood, he said.
Oh, jeez.
Eat their flesh.
Are we sure she might? What if she has the same maker as
Even
us?
if you're loath to submit.
That guy is not like telling us to go eat all the rats that we can find. Maybe he made her wrong as a joke.
Tell me.
Oh no!
Who is it? Can you describe it? Is it someone you know? Someone you met?
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me, or I'll abandon you. Help me, please, Doctor.
Oh, this poor lady, though.
Oh, lady.
What is the
I
local
want to
news
help
hereabouts,
her.
Miss Willow?
Shadows. Shadows hunting shadows. Whispers in the dark. Pestilence. Suffering. Death.
Tell me about
you.
What do you do for a living?
I'm hungry. Need to eat. Have you got something for me? Blood, perhaps? Can you give me blood, Dr. Reed?
Don't you remember who you are, miss? What you did for work?
I was strong, proud. I campaigned for good causes. But that was before. It does not matter anymore.
Before the rats?
I'm so hungry.
Oh, ma'am, let me tell you about big juice boxes. I can't really...
To really get to know him, and then...
Right? Yeah, we can't really talk to
I
her
must
about
go
anything
now.
else, which is tragic.
Goodbye, Miss Billow.
I am going to help you, though.
Gonna eat all them poor little rats.
We're gonna make sure she knows that there are other things to eat other than rats. There are better things, nicer things. Wait, this is the Ascalon Club. I don't want to be here. No! Door, please. That is the sewers.
It's locked.
Just want to see if there's anyone else around. The rest of the people might be in the club.
I do like this area. It's like
Yeah.
you can tell it used to be the fancy area, but there's no fancy area now. It's
Yeah.
plague out.
It's all bad everywhere nowadays.
Despite the Ascalon Club still just being high and mighty in the middle of it. Because vampires don't get sick. Why do they care?
I still want to know that if, like, I don't know. I want this game to explore the idea of eating, like, blood that is not good. Or just the blood of somebody who's, like, sick. Because you would think that would do something. What's this?
It depends. I'm not really sure what, like, happens to the... I think this is how we ended up with cottage cheese blood.
This is how we got to the cottage cheese blood.
It's like, they don't eat food, like, they don't have to process the blood at all, or they just kind of...
Just absorb it.
Yeah, like a sponge. Absorbing cottage cheese.
Disgusting.
It's a bad sponge.
Horrible sponge. The worst sponge? Okay, there should be... I think it's on the other side. Say there should be... Unless... Is this our house? It is.
Oh, it's our house.
Mother, I am home. Mama? Mother? Hello? Mummy? You're not my mom.
Good evening, Avery.
Mr. Jonathan? I can't believe my own eyes. Oh, it's a miracle. We all thought you were...
Well, here's the thing, Avery.
Sir, your poor sister. What a tragedy.
I know, Avery. I know about my sister's murder.
This is my mother, Avery?
To return to assist
He's
with the
perfect?
funeral, right up until the last minute. Where have you been, Mr. Jonathan? We needed you here.
The important thing is that I wasn't murdering her twice.
How is my mother?
Not well, I'm afraid, sir. Miss Reed is very fragile since the police brought her back home.
The police?
What?
What happened?
Miss Reed was found walking in the streets. She kept saying she had spoken with her son and daughter. She's
Oh, that was from the okay, I know.
Has she received
That's
a
from when
kind of
Mary
vampire
brought her
brain
to the
stuff.
Yeah.
Myself. Hospitals are
Don't
so
worry about it. It was all
overwhelmed
just
by
a
the
weird
epidemic
dream.
that they can only accept patients infected by influenza.
Perhaps we could arrange a short trip. Somewhere sunny, like France. She has always been very fond of France. I think leaving London could do her good.
I'm afraid Miss Reed is too frail.
Get her away from the vampires that live
Recently,
just
she
down the
started going
street.
out at night without remembering it. I have to
If the
watch her
vampires
care.
don't care, the plague will care, right?
What is
Yeah.
the situation in this part of town?
For a time, the West End seemed spared by the epidemic. But the situation is getting much worse.
Have you no relatives anywhere? I'll understand if you want to take a few days to see family.
Your father managed to guarantee my earnings as long as I take care of this house, sir. My sisters are dead, and I've never met my nephews.
Aww.
I'll stay, sir.
Aww. Avery.
I'm sorry I could not be here for Mary's funeral.
Your mother was strong, sir. But your support would have been appreciated.
I don't know that she was. She tried to throw herself into the grave, if I remember properly. Not that we were there watching or anything,
Present
but...
at the funeral with you both was my dearest wish, Avery. But I'm sorry, I simply could not attend.
I would not dare to question your absence, Mr. Jonathan. All I can say is that we missed you a great deal during these difficult days.
Personal question.
Tell me the truth, Avery. Do you feel forced to stay here? Would you leave this house without the arrangement?
He told us that
made
he
by my
wouldn't.
No, sir. I have nowhere else to go. And I promised your father...
I was gonna say, I don't think he would lie about his family being dead.
This house is dead.
As an excuse to,
There is a
like, not
curse
leave.
on this family.
I can
You
see
really should
Jonathan
consider leaving.
being like, hey,
If only
absolutely
you could have
sure,
been
because
here
you can
sooner,
go.
oh,
No, 100% like double checking
Maybe
and
this
stuff,
house
but
would
the
not
whole
be
like,
here
are you
anymore.
lying to me? It's like,
But your
Well,
Why
that's
would-
just how he operates. He's just
My
like
past
that.
is not
that is
over.
true.
He's gonna do it in the most dramatic possible way.
You have
It's
served this family
true.
extremely well. Your support during these terrible times is much appreciated.
Then I will stay. All
It's
I
very
ask is
funny
that
that
you take
Avery's like,
care of
oh
my
yes,
own
my
children
sisters are dead
if
and
I
I've not
die
met
before
my
the end of the
nephews. It's,
epidemic.
I'm staying here. Well, are you sure?
Please.
Yes, Jonathan, I'm sure.
You really think I don't take enough care of my mother, Avery?
Yes, I do, Mr. Jonathan.
You clearly have
Dang.
something more to say. Speak your
I mean, he's
mind,
not wrong
Avery.
though.
I know you work hard to help the sick, but what will you do once the epidemic is over?
My home is here, and I have nowhere else to go. But this house will need some improvements if I move here. Some radical changes.
That's good.
Some
news.
curtains for
Whatever
one.
changes you have in mind, I'm sure we will find an arrangement that suits your mother.
Real
also.
thick curtains.
Alright, nothing else there.
Goodbye, Avery. Please watch over my mother until I return.
Of course, Mr. Jonathan, but please return as soon as possible.
And then let's go. Camera, please. Let's go say hi to Mother. Mommy? Then we'll use the workbench that's here, I assume? Yeah. Where is Mom?
It's locked, all right.
Is that one of the voice lines was from him?
Yeah, oh, there she is.
Good idea this
Oh,
time.
okay.
She's just
Mother.
talking to the bookcase.
Good evening.
Talking to
Jonathan,
the bookcase.
is it you? Where have you been, my
I mean,
prodigal
sometimes you
son?
just gotta talk
I'm
at
right here,
things.
Mother.
Especially when you live in a big
I'm
house.
finally home.
Yes, for this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and now found. But where is your sister?
Oh, ma'am.
Where is Mary?
Mary. She is gone, Mother.
I know she's gone. The question is, when will she return as you have? I miss my grandson so much. It's been days since their last visit.
I thought Mary's kid was also dead. Mom is very not here.
I thought Mary were dead before the games, like long before the game started. Mary's kid.
Yeah.
Mother. do you know
Yeah.
what's been going
I
on
don't
in
think.
this area?
I don't
Not
think
really.
Mom's okay.
I don't go
Yeah.
out much due to the epidemic, and when I do,
Oh,
I tend to
mother.
get lost.
What do you mean you get lost? I hope you don't go outside alone.
Of course not. When I go out, your father always comes with me, but he leaves me there sometimes, and I have trouble
Oh.
finding the way back.
Have you returned?
Do you wanna
to
go,
Whitechapel
friends?
Cemetery since Mary's funeral?
I never want to go back to that awful place. Wait. I think I went back once.
No, you didn't. Don't worry about
And
it. It
you
was
were
just a
there
weird
too.
dream.
And Mary? No, that can't be true.
It was just a bad dream, Mother.
A nightmare, yes. Mary was so angry. I walked back home alone. If that kind policeman had not called Avery from the station, I don't know what would have happened.
You'd have lived at the police
Tell me, Mother,
station.
how are you? All alone in this big house with only Avery to take care of you.
I'm sad most of the time. Sad that you have left me here alone. Sad that you don't tell me when you come or go.
I'm so sorry, Mother. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was coming home. I was home. London, the Thames. And then it happened.
She does have a very
What
good
happened,
name.
Johnny?
Do we pronounce it Emmeline or Emmeline? Either way, I like
I lost
it.
my way. Somewhere between the boat and the house, my life changed completely.
You should have
I met a
told me,
man.
Johnny. I would have
He's
understood.
perfect.
You always were a secretive little boy.
Doctor. Who's also a boyfriend.
Do you need anything, Mother? Can I help you?
I just want you to stay with me, Jonathan. Your room is ready. I asked Avery to make your bed.
I'll stay as long as I can, I promise. Do you
You
need
have to get back to
anything else?
work
Just one
and
thing.
Dr. Boyfriend.
Stop staring at me like that. As much as I love you, it breaks my heart to look at those empty and dead eyes.
Wow, Mom!
Are you
Jesus!
painting?
Not recently. I have.
I
Even
love
in
you,
the
son.
business?
Don't fucking look at
My
me.
mind quickly drifts.
Jeez.
It's the same thing when I try to write poetry.
I recently met a talented painter with
Don't
an
Wish
excellent
my
technique.
son who's
you
neglecting
two
me
could
would
meet.
come back here and visit more often and also
I'd be
don't look
glad
at
to
me.
meet
Is he
her.
weird?
What is her
Fucking
name?
look at me.
Is she famous? Is she dead too?
She's not famous.
What is?
And her name is of no importance. And yes, she is also dead.
The important thing is, I hope you two get along.
This is just having
If she
ADHD
ever
trying to be an
fancies meeting your
artist.
mother, I'd be glad to welcome her into my home.
I'm not introducing you to Lady
Do you
Ashbury.
think
That's not
Avery is
happening.
right? Do you think I should take better care of you?
I don't blame you, but you abandoned me, son. A mother should not survive her children. It's unbearable to know you're not here anymore.
Seems
So
like
I
we're
am-
not together when we like use the mind control thing.
Yeah.
Kind of tragic.
I know
Yeah.
I have failed you since I returned. I even watched you bury Mary from a distance. From now on, I will protect you. You have my word.
You don't have to apologize to me, Johnny. Do you think I did not notice how much you have changed?
Have I changed that much, Mother?
Jonathan, have you looked in a
Am I
mirror
still
recently?
Your son.
You are
Yeah.
still,
He tracked me. There's no one there.
despite your pale skin,
That's
your bloody
a good
eyes,
point.
and that echoing sadness in your
She's
voice.
the only person who's noticed that. Hey, you,
It was
you
like-
you got the bad eyes over there.
Hey, pal. You're real pale, and your eyes are fucked,
Why do you say
and
Mary is visiting you, Mother?
your voice
You
is
know
all
that's
dramatic
Why
now.
should it be?
I-
Are you
That could
not
have been
standing
always.
in front of
He
me
might
right
have
now?
always been like that.
Why should it be any different with your sister?
Yeah, but he's got that deep sadness
But
in his
Mary really
voice
is
now
dead, Mother.
Yes.
that
And are
only
you
a
not
mother
dead
would
too?
notice.
Isn't your father dead? And my
Or not.
grandson and my son-in-law, you're all gone. But you all still visit me from time to time.
Okay, maybe she's not as
But
crazy.
I'm not
Well, no, she
dead,
is.
Mother.
No, she is.
I'm really here, talking to
It
you.
changes from moment to moment, I
Try
think.
not to
Yeah.
Oh, it breaks my heart to have to tell you this. But of course you're
Aw.
dead, my darling boy. Just look at you. As pale as my Mary.
I mean, she's not wrong,
Goodbye, Mother. Try to rest.
is the
Goodbye,
thing.
son.
Yeah.
Please.
She's just not right for the reasons that she thinks. Okay, that's the hideout. I want to loot rooms if possible. I can't. Okay, but I can steal this bookshelf stuff. Got some grease and an aluminium shard. Mom, why were you looking at those things? What's this?
Whose skeleton is this? I think it was just small key.
Yeah. Strong key? Small key. Key to Aubrey Reed's office. Okay, well, let's look at the office just right quick. And, oh. Almost missed this watch and ergotamine. Daddy office? My dear and beloved John, you will be 35 and I will be gone.
I remember Sunday walks.
Dad just went missing, I guess.
Can investigate this, apparently.
Hey!
Mary? Oh, my dear.
Excuse me.
How are you tonight? your sweet boy.
Mom, please. Dad had some codeine and a cigarette case just hanging out in his thing. Words. It's fine. Money. Okay, let's do some quick deconstruction of stuff. We'll level up some items, level up our boy, and we'll call it there.
Yeah. Good start.
Yeah.
I love silly recycling noise.
Same. It's very good on my brain. Good mace is the one that we're working with, isn't it? Ooh.
Yeah, the
More good handle.
Sorry, just remembered.
No, it's all good.
'Cause I remember we had a mace and a cudgel, and the exact same thing, but the mace has slightly better numbers.
Yeah. Okay, we need 5 good handle parts to
Look
level
at
up.
that damage, though. Holy
yeah,
shit.
Yeah. It's very good. I think for the last one we'll take stun damage. Kind of been bouncing between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stun damage, I feel like if we completely neglected it, we'd start to feel it.
Yeah. Okay, that's all we need to do there. We'll make one more of those. Can't do any of that because I'm out of codeine.
Oh, dang.
When did that happen? This is tragic.
We need a bunch of people to get easily treatable sepsis. And
Right?
not headaches, which are impossible.
My god. We'll just do a couple of more though. Well, one more, I guess. I mean, we're doing pretty good on our treatments for now.
Yeah.
We'll do those, because we kind of went through them. We did upgrade our weapon. Cool. So let's level up the boy now.
Upgrading the weapon is like a huge increase.
Yeah!
And it gets more as it goes higher in level. It's real good. We want to be doing that, huh?
Yes. Absolutely. No. Level 20. Okay, so in just a minute we'll be able to do that. Understood. Our claw is starting to fall off just a little bit on some of these bigger boys. I kind of want to do that.
5 stun is very low.
Yeah. And this gains blood? It's not much, but it's...
Yeah, a tiny bit of a refund back. The stun one does more damage.
Yeah.
Also costs more.
Yeah.
If it did a decent amount of stun, it'd be worth paying a little bit more. But yeah, 10 stun is as much as a big stick does per hit.
Less than our
without
big
any
stick.
upgrades. Yeah, it's how much you did at level 1 with no upgrades. Sorry. Claws? I think keeping the cost low and the recovery low is probably the best way, because
yeah,
you throw it out to like close distance on people and to interrupt things.
Yeah. Alright, well...
The 2 blood is like almost nothing, but it's better than literally nothing, right?
Yeah.
It costs 20 and it gives you 2 back. That's
Sorry, everything's starting to get expensive.
Yeah.
I read that as big throat for a second. Oh my god.
Big throat to fit more blood in.
Yeah. We're getting enough blood per chomp that this would be nice, but it's not necessary at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair.
Regeneration might be nice though.
Yeah, it's not It's not like loads, but it's getting noticeable, right? The life
Yeah.
regen after you do a bite.
So we'll increase that a little bit.
It's getting handy.
Do I want to commit to 2,000 for Blood Spear? How much was...
The problem with Blood Spear is that blood damage is probably the worst damage type. It tends to get resisted by the big things.
It is helpful with the little guys when there's lots of them.
It's real good
though.
against the little guys.
I think we'll do that next time because I do want bigger blood cauldron, but I don't know that any of these things are cheap enough to be able.
Blood Spear, actually, sorry, because the damage has been falling off a bit, even though the AOE is still amazing.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way for me to get Blood Cauldron this time. We'll be able to get it next time, though. So let's go ahead and do Blood
Oh, that's what you're trying to do?
Yeah! No, it's fine.
The math just didn't quite work out.
No, we were gonna be, like, short 100 no matter what we do. At minimum, 100. But that's okay. We can get a couple of other things. We can do, like, one...
little nice to have.
Yeah. So either big thirst or more... I mean, I'm starting to run out of stamina again.
Yeah, the new weapon uses a bit more.
Yeah, so we'll...
I haven't been having as much trouble with stamina, but we gotta stay on top of it. So we know it can be annoying.
There have been a couple of times where, like, I've been able to recover pretty quickly, but I am starting to struggle in just a tiny bit.
Did we do a choice?
No, we've just...
Okay.
I didn't meet this man. I met Venus. Okay. He is ill. See the next one. Hey!
Hey!
Hey! Hell yeah!
Nice.
What about here? Oh, fucking hell. Both of our gay boys are ill now.
Is it just fatigue?
Cold. We can fix that.
We can cure cold.
He's got a migraine now, though. And Pippa has a cold. Oof. And these people have gotten ill. Fatigue and fatigue. Okay. We can cure that easily. We can cure this easily. That's not a problem.
The migraine's a problem.
Yeah, migraine's an issue. Okay, we're not doing too bad as far as keeping everyone healthy is concerned.
Yeah.
But that is a thing for tomorrow. Hey, we're level 21. Heck yeah. Nice. Return to menu, please. Yeah. Lots of good progress. I still really like this game.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it.
Same.
And thanks for having me on for it.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with me while we do it. It's cool. I like it. Sorry, doing a big stretch. Okay. So plan is to do more of this tomorrow. I think we're, like, getting into the territory of, like, everything is going to be new now. Because I think we stopped right after meeting the Ascalon Club.
I think so, too.
But even that, like, I don't think we managed to talk to everyone because I was already at the point where I was like, but I'm not going to be able to do anything. No going bad. Look, we've been doing great is the thing. Doing
Smooth
so
sailing from here, I reckon. We have the second biggest possible stake.
Yeah. I think, like, understanding how the choices work a little better and knowing that, like, there is that, like, secret third option that we can get.
Yeah, and it's just from, like,
just from talking to everyone.
The people, and we want to do that anyway because
it's
good. That's the best part of the game.
Yeah. So that's been helpful and has made everything better because, like, we fixed the Sean situation. Sean is alive. and hasn't done a murder on the entire the entire area. So that's cool.
Incident.
Yeah! It's now just a really nice time there, actually. But yeah. For now, let's find somebody to go raid into. I have a lot of people on right now, actually.
I've got Nimbly and Flowers.
I've got Nimbly and Dye and Flowers. I've got Wreck-It
I think
Raven.
Flowers is streaming with Emmy.
Oh, they've been streaming for ages, though, haven't they?
Oh yeah, probably. They were going before we were.
Yeah. We can go say hello if we all want. I'm down.
I'm happy to go whoever.
Chat. What do y'all want to see? I guess is the thing. Because if nobody has any strong opinions, we'll go say hi to Flowers.
Do you want zombies? Do you want Zeldas? Do you want Dragon Warrior 2?
Is that what Todd doing? Oh god, it is. I've also got Wreck-It Raven doing the Outlast Trials, which I've watched a little bit of. It's not a game that I'd be interested in playing, but it seems neat. John's been playing that.
Oh.
And it's been cool. It is movie time, and I think that's another reason why I'm a little less like, we have to go here, because it's movie time. Let's go say hi to Flowers then. Say hi to Flowers and Emmy.
Do love Flowers.
Yeah.
Emmy's my arch enemy though. We hate Emmy.
Dang. Telling them he said it.
Yeah. Tell him.
Okay. Good. Perfect. Alright, if y'all are gonna raid with us, there are the raid messages. The first one is for everyone. It's got global emotes. Second one has our channel emotes. Thanks for being here, everyone. We appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your time zone, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye, friends.